What is up, everybody? Welcome to After Dark. My name is Aaron Canola. I'm your host for this evening. And thank you guys so much, whether you're tuning in live or tuning in on the replay, for being here with us. Tonight is a bit of a different episode for that After Dark. This week, instead of going over all the latest in movie news, we've decided to follow the trend we've been doing recently. For Loki, we talked about the episodes kind of in chunks. And with the series finale airing, we decided to do that. And on top of that, people have been very receptive to that, and they've been receptive to when we've talked about films in the past on the show. So a decision was made kind of between Matt and myself, where going forward, every couple of big blockbuster films that comes out, I don't know, maybe like one a month or something, we'll figure out a pattern as we go. We'll talk about in a similar sense, but a week after it releases. So that way, everyone has a chance to see it, and we can go fully into spoilers on it. So with that being said, tonight will be mostly a discussion show. Not only will we be talking in depth about the finale of Loki, we'll be talking about Black Widow, but we'll also be discussing the career of Richard Donner. I did a little bit of a tribute video explaining his career. So we'll have all of that, and I'm joined by a great crew for all of this discussion going around the circle. Of course, Mr. Matt Beer is here with me.
How you doing? Just currently buying a 37-foot, I should clarify, 37-foot projector screen to go outside. We're going to run the drive-in theater business just completely out. They're not going to exist anymore because you just go to my backyard and watch whatever or play whatever on my 37-foot screen. But, watch a couple things too recently too. One is, surprisingly good, or I liked it more than I thought. And the other was the worst movie I've seen all year. Sorry, Fast 9.
All right, and up next we have the Mandalorian. He is lone tonight, Mr. Nicky Sullivan. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, I bought some candy. It was $1. Yeah.
Nice.
I like the way we're doing this with the show. I think keeping it natural is always good. Like we just let the natural flow of like the conversation, what's going on in everybody's mind, like dictate what we're doing. I think that's a great idea. I think there's room for news at times, but like tonight, like it just kind of feels right. Like we should be discussing these big Marvel things. And I think it's just interesting that I was watching the first Avengers movie, as I do, and just that scene where Black Widow and Loki are talking, it's just kind of fitting that we're talking about both of them in the episode tonight, because that's just such like a powerhouse scene looking back on it. And now we get to talk about both of them tonight.
And also joining us are, honestly, behind the scenes, the two people who said we should do this on the same night. So we have Mr. Malcolm Lay with us. How's it going, brother?
Pretty good. I've only seen sort of one of these. I haven't got around to seeing the other. I'll let you decide which is which.
Yeah, he'll figure out pretty quickly. And Mr. Sean Hunter is with us.
Hello, everybody. We are redoing the bathroom here, and it's a little frustrating always going over to your neighbor's house to pee, poo-poo, and shower every day. So hopefully this ends soon.
You have to go to... That's awful. That sounds awful. You just have to go to someone else's house.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have their permission. He's just doing it like he's walking in there and they're like, "What are you doing in my house, man?"
It's awkward to ruin their family dinner every night. Just walking in there, running up the stairs.
Where's the bathroom again? Cool, thank you. All right. Speaking of somebody who'd probably walk into your house to take a shit, let's talk about Loki. Here's an intro to establish the episodes. This week, we had the season finale release for Loki, the third Disney Plus series in the MCU. And tonight, we recap that as well as Episode 5 and where the show will be going. Episode 5, Journey into Mystery, introduces us to a few different Loki variants. After our team reunites, we explore the Void and Richard E. Grant steals the show. Loki and Sylvie make it past the guard creature Eliath and make their way to confront the Timekeepers. We continue this plot into Episode 6 for All Time, Always. Loki and Sylvie meet the figure behind the TVA and discover they've found themselves at the center of a much larger plot. The TVA itself is informed of their variants, while Renslayer disappears after receiving a secretive information from Miss Minutes. In the end, it turns out love is truly like a dagger, and it does not conquer all, as Sylvie betrays Loki and unleashes the multiverse, a series of divergent timelines that cannot be pruned or corrected. Loki is left stranded at the TVA, but is left alone when it's revealed that Mobius and B-15 no longer seem to recognize him, as the season ends on a somber note. After being mentioned offhand numerous times, the episode does confirm at the end that Loki will be in fact returning for a season 2. Michael Waldron will return to help showrun and lead the writing team for season 2, and it will begin filming in January of 2022, just over 6 months from now. Though for the moment it looks as though director Kate Herron, who handled direction on all 6 episodes of season 1, may not be returning. The series stars a varying ensemble of leads led by Tom Hiddleston and includes Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Wunmi Masaku, Sophia DiMartino, and Owen Wilson. For those who haven't happened to have seen Loki, spoiler alert, because we're going to spoil it, but it is available for you to watch on Disney+. And to go off of one thing I said in the video, after that was recorded, it actually was confirmed by Kate Herron herself that she will not be returning to direct season 2 of Loki. Apparently, she had multiple offers from different projects on the table, and she chose to go do something else rather than return to the show. So a different director will be brought in to handle the production of season 2, well, obviously sometime in the next 6 months before it shoots. So with that said, I'll go ahead and open it up to you guys, whichever one of you wants to take it first, and then we'll kind of roll it around from there. What were your thoughts on the last 2 episodes of Loki and kind of the show as a whole now that it's all over? For now.
Well, I'll let one of you guys go first, but I do have a little thing to play from the first episode where we talked about episode 1 of Loki. So if one of you guys want to go, then go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this season as a whole. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that really didn't, but I really enjoyed it. This is one that I knew we were going to get some strange show that mostly is going to set up things there. It's one of those ones like in the final episode, like we meet a variant of Kang. It wasn't the Kang the Conqueror that we're going to get later that will happen, but it was a good taste of what Jonathan Majors is going to bring to it. From what I've kind of understand, I think Kate Herron has kind of confirmed this as well. This is more of a hybrid between Immortus, which is a variant of Kang, and a different character that's known as He Who Remains. So they kind of merged those 2 characters together, which I really liked. Because it gave us a chance to sort of meet Jonathan Majors without actually going full Kang the Conqueror mode. But yeah, I mean, and ultimately, I'm going backwards because why not? Episode 5 was a treasure trove of Easter eggs, which was a lot of fun. And just see the full version of 4 in anything MCU was just entertaining, and the Thanos copter was there.
All right, so we'll keep the circle going in terms of thoughts. Nikki, I'll head to you next. What were your thoughts on the episodes and overall on the show as a whole?
The episode I didn't really love just because I wasn't as intrigued by the Immortus or Kang, Nathaniel Richards, whatever we're calling He Who Remains, as
the show does, yes.
I wasn't as intrigued by that as a lot of people, just because that's one of those things where I was saying where it's kind of journey to the status quo. How if you watch Loki, you get the full so it's like point A, point B, and then Loki fills in like this in-between stuff where point A being the Avengers mess with the timeline to stop Thanos, and point B being you mess with time, time messes back, we get Kang the Conqueror. Loki kind of just fills in what their mistakes led to as far as Kang goes. And I think that's ultimately what all these Marvel shows are doing, is they're just kind of filling in until the next big Avengers movie. Now, the parts that I was disappointed with Loki were more not as much story. I thought the story was weak, but for me, the characters, I more had a problem with. I didn't understand, and it kind of goes to this thing that I've been thinking of lately, being the hero moment. Like everybody in the MCU, we have all these characters. They all kind of have like their hero moment, even some of the minor characters. And it's kind of hard in a big universe when you're introduced to new characters this late in the game. But like I look at somebody like another movie, Black Widow, with Yelena, a character like that. She had a lot of hero moments in that movie. And I look at a character like Sylvie, I didn't have any reason to like Sylvie as like a character, which was surprising for me because most of the characters they introduced in the MCU, I'm usually all in for these MCU movies. This is the only thing, like I even like Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2, Captain Marvel, things that most people have at the bottom of their list, I think are serviceable. This was at the bottom for me, and it was mainly because I didn't understand what our Loki, saw in Sylvie that was different than other things. Owen Wilson, I thought was fantastic. Wow. But I just think that for me, I don't know if it was casting or writing, but the Sylvie thing just didn't work for me because I just didn't understand why the Loki that just murdered Phil Coulson watched Infinity War and then doesn't kill this alternate version of himself to get the throne to be king of all time. Another thing that disappointed me was, and this has been a problem, it reminded me of Guardians 2, where the trailer that we get for the season where you taking the Tesseract broke reality and we need your help to fix it, not necessarily being the plot of the show, and also many of the best shots in the trailer being either just the shot in the trailer that we got or not in the show at all. So that part of all the things, I think the marketing team really hampered my enjoyment of this show. Because they were coming out, we've talked about this before, coming out slapping down theories where I think when you have a show that's pitched on Disney Plus says mystery, you got to take that journey into mystery. Now, as far as watching it the first time through, the Easter eggs, lots of fun. That's what made this show fun week to week. But yeah, we'll see what we have for season 2. This is probably my least favorite Marvel thing. Having said that, it's better than anything else that's going on right now, so I'll take it.
Fair enough. I'm going to build on some of the points you made because we have a lot that we agree on. But first, I'm going to go ahead and head to Sean. What are your thoughts on the show?
I think the last 2 episodes of the series were kind of like my least favorite. I think the 5th one, a lot of cool stuff, but I felt like it wasn't a filler episode, but I felt like not a lot happened when they just had to do a simple thing to get to the Citadel. And the last episode, I love what they were doing with He Who Remains, like the character. I like how he was played and that he was a variant. I like the performance and whatnot. There's obviously a lot of exposition, and I'm not the type of person who I need like a strong third act CGI, Marvel fight fest. But I did feel like there was a little bit too much exposition, and I wanted something a little bit more active instead of people just sitting around. Like I love intellectual stuff. I love a lot of, intellectual Star Trek, and stuff like that. But I just felt like it wasn't really there in the last episode. As for the season, I guess for me, I'm not expecting a whole lot from Disney and Marvel's first outings with their TV shows. They're still learning and figuring out what to do and how to make it really good, just like their first batch of movies. As the season as a whole, I really enjoyed it. Tom Hiddleston totally rules as Loki. I don't know who I like more, Thor or Loki. They're just great characters. The performances for each character is so well done. I liked Owen Wilson, a lot of the supporting characters. I loved a lot of the Easter eggs and all the hidden stuff. A lot of the episodes were super fun. I'm excited for a season 2. But I think like the first two Marvel shows, I don't think I would go back and rewatch this season. I think I've got it. I understand it. I don't need to really be reminded of it, but I'm still excited for the future. And I like the changes that this series has had on the upcoming, MCU future and what we'll see. So yeah, I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I'll kind of work through each one. So episode 5, I do kind of agree with you on that one, Sean. It wasn't that it was filler necessarily, but it kind of had the same issue that I had with episode 3, where it felt like the actual plot of what you're, especially because like episode 4 had so much stuffed into one episode, that it's like it's falling into that same issue of like the actual plot of this episode does not need to take this long. This feels like we're just really staggering along to get where we need to get. And it feels like you could have done a little more in that episode. And I honestly kind of had the same feeling going from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, where I thought, if you want 3 to end on an impact, I think the more impactful ending would have been have Mobius save them and end there instead of saving it for episode 4, because then you would end with their feelings for each other creating this supposedly catastrophic event, and now they've been saved, but you don't know what's going to happen to them, versus, oh my god, we're on a planet that's destined to be destroyed, when we're only halfway through the series in which our 2 leads definitely will live to the end. I think one's a more impactful thing. With this episode going 5 into 6, I felt a very similar thing of, I feel like they should have spent less time with the variants. As great as Richard E. Grant was, and he really did steal the show, he was brilliant. I wouldn't mind more of him in anything, but I would have been fine with less Loki. Like, for an example, that boastful Loki, and like especially because they spent time with him, giving him dialogue in those scenes, for what that character ended up doing, we really didn't need that character. That was just another, that's a cool thing, let's add in there. President Loki, that whole divergence thing, we did not need that. That was killing time. It would have made, to me at least, it would have made the episode stronger if they'd cut that stuff and then moved them discovering Jonathan Majors into the end of the episode and just make him sitting there being the cliffhanger. Because again, I think it's a more impactful end of an episode. Oh, you have to see where this goes. Who is this guy? If you happen to know who Jonathan Majors is, oh shit, is that Kang? Like, I think that's a bigger reaction than just ending staring at the castle, and it would have made better use of the episodes prior. Episode 6, and again, I think I'm building off of what Nikki and Sean both said. Yeah, Jonathan Majors did a great job as an actor, and this is one of the things I'll say for the series as a whole. The actors did a great job. The writing is what let them down, and specifically for Jonathan Majors, I thought he did a really great job executing what he was given. It's just what he was given was a character that is a variant of Kang, but realistically, he's just a pile of odd quirks that's there to dump exposition on you. And it's very difficult for an actor. A lot of times you've heard stories of actors speaking on it where when you're just given all expositional dialogue, it can be very difficult to execute that in such a way where it's entertaining for the audience. And for that, I do have to give him a lot of credit, because I thought he did a great job with it, and his interplay with the two actors was really great. Yeah, overall as a show, quite honestly, out of everything in the MCU, this is bottom 5 properties for me. Like, it's down there. Not to be said, Marvel's worst film is better than some of the worst, way better than some of the worst films of all time. So it's still not saying a lot. Like, out of 10, I'd give it a 7 overall as a show. It's good, but it's not one of the strongest things they've ever made. And to me, my issue with it, where I think the writing failed them, is, and I think I said this the last time, but this to me solidifies it. They wrote this clearly knowing they were going to do a season 2. And I think what they intended to do was bring it to a place where it felt like, oh, we've left this great cliffhanger going forward. How it came off, at least to me, is this is the most set-uppy show I've seen since it's compared to MCU. It felt like Age of Ultron. It felt like Iron Man 2. At the end of the day, it down to the fact that its real main villain in the Time Masters was realistically a villain who's going to be the main villain of another film and is barely in this show. Like it's a show that is there to set up further properties, including its own second season, but it doesn't really ever tell its own whole complete story, and it doesn't wrap up any of its characters. We don't get a conclusion to Mobius and B-15. We don't get a conclusion to Renslayer. She quite literally walks off the show, and that's it. We don't get a resolution for Sylvie. Like, we know she got what she wanted, but there's no actual resolution to that character because it cuts away from them as soon as she kills them. So yeah, for me, it is entertaining, and a lot of it is in the actors' performances. I give all the actors credit here because I don't think this has been some of the best writing the MCU's had, and I think they are making the best of it. Hiddleston once again is great, and I've said this before. I've never loved the character of Loki, but damn if he's not good playing it. He makes it a better character than I think it's been written. And I would say the same for Owen Wilson, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Jonathan Majors in this episode, Richard Grant in his episode. A lot of the actors are what made this show entertaining. But for me overall, it's probably the biggest miss they've made with the show thus far. I do have to agree with Sean on the point of it's one of their first, they're still beginning this. And as strong as I think WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier are, I do believe production-wise, this actually went into production originally before they did. It just had a longer production, and so that's why it also got halted by COVID. So if that's true, then this was literally the first thing they started shooting. So again, it makes sense that there are issues there. I also think, as far as I'm aware, a number of the writing staff came over from Rick and Morty, which is a good show, but it's not a show that's used to telling a longevity story like this. Its characters have arcs, but the show itself doesn't carry this.
This week.
What happened?
Rick and Morty broke my brain this week.
I've not seen anything from the new season. I'm going to wait till it's over and just binge it at this point. I don't know how deep into it is.
Horse ejaculator.
Yay! Yes! Now I'm looking forward to it.
The hiccups right now, and I'm just trying to get rid of them.
No, you're good. Yeah, so, and
really
again,
bad.
like, everyone I've spoken to about this show, like, I have to put the relative thing out there. It's like, look, I'm talking about this like it's one of the worst things the MCU has made. The MCU's pile of shit is another franchise's gold. This is as good as Fast and Furious could ever be. So it's like, realistically, I think it just shows... I think it shows the bar standard that the MCU has set, that this is something that disappoints people. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I do think they can turn it around for season 2 and make it a more complete show. But it is what it is. At that point. So I guess if you guys want to get into a little bit, we can talk about the end of the episode. And since Matt's not back, we'll go back to him when he is. So I'll throw it to any one of you. So the episode ends obviously setting up the concept of the multiverse. What's her name? Sylvie kills He Who Remains, which sets off the branching timelines of the multiverse. And obviously we know now there are a number of films that are either confirmed, whether it's quite literally Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or Quantum Mania, who has the Connect direction with Jonathan Majors that are going to be dealing with it. There's films that, and I'm going to keep saying rumored till everything's confirmed, but Spider-Man Far From Home has heavily rumored to be involving a lot of the multiverse stuff too. No one still said yes. I don't know where they're going with that trailer. Malcolm, you're muted.
I think you mean No Way Home, not Far From Home. Far From Home was the last Spider-Man movie.
Oh, No Way Home. Yeah, I just want to go back to that one. I want to go back to that one before all this shit started. No, so
J.K. Simmons is from the multiverse.
My dad called
ruin that movie for
J.K. Rowling the other day.
What happened?
My dad called J.K. Simmons J.K. Rowling the other day.
Oh, two very different people.
Yeah. It's really killing me, guys. I'm having a hard time breathing.
You all right? Do you need to take a break, get some water?
I need more peanut butter.
Is that a thing? Does that help you?
Yeah. No,
I didn't know that.
it like closes. It like closes your airway enough that it doesn't like.
I find what gets rid of my hiccups is if I hold my breath for as long as possible. That like 9.5 times gets rid of
If
it.
Nikki dies on camera, we're sending the bill to you. I'm just letting you know in advance. I'll take your emotional trauma bill, but we're sending the medical bill to you, okay? It's a circle. That's how it works.
Still hiccups when I hold my breath.
Yeah, I was about to say, to bounce off what you said and to sort of talk about the ending, it didn't bother me too much that that it did come across as mostly set up for next season for the thing, because like to me I had a lot of fun with what I was given, and it's just one of those ones because I think every TV series like, and this is one of those ones which from the get-go everyone's going, oh yeah, it's going to have a season 2, and to me that's probably why it didn't disappoint me too much, because most TV shows on any station, they are always doing their show as if they're going to be renewed for another season. And it's one of those ones that it didn't bother me for that reason. I can't be, but I mean, to bounce off what Nikki was saying about, the trailer, I mean, Marvel has done a lot of things with the trailers. They always put in a scene in which is manipulated some way. For the big example is Hulk being in Wakanda in Infinity War. And there was the one shot from the trailer, like, well, either it's going to be that obvious and it's going to be King Loki at the end, or it's a complete misdirect and we're going to get, and it's going to be saved for a reveal for someone else. The one episode from Loki I think wasn't really needed that could have is Lamentus. I don't think that was overly needed. I think what they should have done is done that to do what they did with Monica and do a flashback to show Sylvie a little bit more and actually explain her motivations and kind of flesh out that character more. And I think I agree with what everyone's saying about Sylvie. Yeah. I actually did like the character. I like what Sophia Di Martino brought to the character. I just think it needed fleshed out more, and I think if you merged in her origin story with that latest episode, instead of having her talk about her family, you show it all in flash and have her voiceover, and that would help flesh her out a little bit more.
And on the point of trailers, I saw you getting ready, Nikki, so I'll jump to you in a sec. On the point of trailers, I do agree with you that the shots thing doesn't bother me. Like, I'm not fazed by that anymore, between studios literally now creating shit just for trailers and deleted scenes and studio edits and all this shit. I'm not fazed by that. I will say, though, I saw on a YouTube video a trailer come up for Loki that was a trailer that was made post the conclusion of the show, like in an attempt to market people who haven't seen it to come watch it now that it's over. And in that trailer, that line that Nikki said where Mobius is like, you've messed up the timeline and now you're going to help me fix it. That's what they're still marketing the show as. That is mismarketing. That's not what the show is. I don't know how you'd correct that, but that's not what the show is.
That's what they say for Guardians 2. The trailer's there. It's like the Sovereign want to destroy the galaxy. Yeah, it's like, no, they don't. That's just misleading. You're just saying things that aren't there. But it's not just that. It's not just like the Hulk thing. He's on sets like that they had to have made for the show. So like he's on the set of original Avengers and he's standing in front of that mirror saying glorious. And like you can see like where they would have put it, because you could clearly see now that it's like the glow of Miss Minutes that's like on like his face. So it would have been like slipped in there. But it's just that's kind of disappointing, because in the context of the trailer, they show it with the DB Cooper stuff, and they show it with the President Loki, and it seems like he's going back to these places, and that he's going to be wearing these different costumes and stuff, going into these different roles throughout time, trying to fix reality.
And so before I jump to Matt to get his opinions on it, and he can play that video that he has, Nikki, we got time, brother. I'm sure it'll go away at some point. I do want to bring this up. We can get into it. we can get into it a little more later, but I do want to bring it up just quickly. I'll address this one quickly because it showed up. The point in being, while he's tearing apart Space Jam, the point in being, how is Space Jam, which is currently on track to make more money than Black Widow at the box office?
I think it looks fun.
The reason that that's happening is because last weekend, and I bring it up in the video for Black Widow, so stay tuned for that. But Black Widow made $80 million at the at the domestic box office, which, as Sean mentioned, does now include Canada. So it made $80 million at the domestic box office. Plus, it also made a high record-breaking $60 million on Disney Plus sales alone. So we essentially reached the cap in one weekend that most people who are going to see it have already seen it, and now we're at the point of who's going to go out and risk it to see it a second time. Space Jam has enough nostalgia behind it that even though the reviews weren't too hot and the fan reception seems to be mixed, because it is mixed. There are people who are liking the film and there are people who are disliking it. It's at least new. So I think as we're still kind of recovering and heading back, something has to be top tier to really continue to draw in audiences past that. And so far, we've only seen one film do that, which was A Quiet Place. Even Fast and Furious had an insane drop-off after its first weekend. A Quiet Place is still in the top 5 after 7 weeks. So I think it's just, again, we're seeing a readjustment and rebuilding of the box office, and this is what's going to happen. Very few films, if there's another blockbuster the next week, are going to retain their place.
Yeah, and also, like, it's a kids' movie. Like, they're going to take their families to it. But the other thing I was going to bounce off, because $60 million have been spent on Premier Access, it means a lot of people have it on Disney Plus and can watch it whenever they want. And so they might want to get. I mean, some of them might be doing both and going to theaters as well.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. I saw it in theaters. I'll go see it in theaters again if I really want to see it. I'm not paying for it. Matt, I'll go to you. Chris, we talked about it earlier in the episode. We already went through it. Matt, go ahead and give your thoughts on Loki since you weren't here. And then if you have that video you want to play, go ahead.
So I couldn't find the video, but I can summarize it because I do remember what I said. I did happen to mention that I did say, I think I had the original theory of, how I thought the show would end with Loki going back to Endgame timeline where we saw him, where he's being taken by Avengers. And then I realized, that can't happen because they didn't label it as a miniseries. I figured even that far back, it would be a multi-season show, whether the second season comes next year, 2 years, 3 years. I figured it would be a multi, so changed it. I did call that Jonathan Majors as Kang. It's a variant of Kang, but that's Kang nonetheless, would be in the final episode. You guys told me that he wouldn't be in it, so I wanted to gloat for a sec.
I only know because almost quite literally the moment after the show aired, I got a text from him, and I do want to give him credit. Yeah. I believe the person who said it before you was our guest on the show that week, JD Domash, but you were the only person who gave it any kind of credibility as well. Mm-hmm. So I want to give him credit because I believe he did say it first, but same thing. Most of us who were there that week, 6 weeks ago, did not believe it would happen.
Why
Nikki's got his hand up.
Like this is some sort of great victory that their fans.
I'm just floating. Excuse me.
I cannot understand the
narrative. Petty.
But it's everywhere.
I'm floating.
He said 37 inches 3 times while talking about his projectors. Size matters.
37 foot. Okay.
I thought Loki was a narcissist.
Sorry.
This is like
37 inches is horribly small.
Okay, and I know small. Okay.
And every word that they have to say matters.
I know small.
I'm just trying to get rid of the hiccups.
But yeah,
After Dark, ladies and gentlemen, all 37 inches of it.
Somebody make me laugh. I think if I laugh, they'll go away.
So
I'll keep trying.
So anyway, I wanted to find a video so I could gloat that yes, he would be in it because this wasn't a Mephisto thing. It made sense in my mind at the time because Ant-Man 3. But anyway, to get into it, did you guys talk both episodes or just the last episode?
So we kind of went one by one. Get into everything, and then we were opening it up a little bit as we were coming back.
We talked about future episodes that you haven't seen yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen season 2 of Loki. That's not shot.
Wow.
Yet.
No. That went away. He was in our timeline, and then when he came back, he was at the TVA from another timeline. where there was a statue of me erected.
Right.
I'm gonna
I
blow
wanna
my
say-
brains out. Matt, start talking.
I just want to say quickly,
Yeah.
Malcolm, your Jojo Rabbits poster is giving you bunny ears now and
Yeah.
again.
It's why
Oh,
I
yeah.
placed it there.
Say,
Malcolm knows exactly what he's doing.
I did want to
Malcolm's got
go.
a mirror behind him so he can like adjust
Oh,
whenever
your
it's not
La La
right.
Land poster is spraying mediocrity everywhere.
Hey,
Ooh.
you shut your mouth, Nikki. You shut your mouth. You're not in now. You don't talk crap about the glorious La La Land. Available on
Ooh.
La La Land has glorious purpose.
It's
That's
sure
glorious.
does.
Shining
Incredible.
just for me.
So, Loki. Like I
Wow.
said, wanted to gloat. Couldn't find a video, but hey,
These people
wanted to
ruin my
gloat.
points.
Called it. Episode 5,
job, Matt.
real quick. I'll give my thoughts because there's not a whole lot for episode 5. I liked episode 5. Not the strongest episode, but I did. Shut the fuck up, Chris. It is great. It's not La La Land. Okay, don't look. I let the misspelling go by from time to time. It's not the law. Okay,
That's the version where Ryan Gosling gives up
Kidding.
his dreams and goes to law
It's-
school like a
Yeah.
practical
Like also
Goes to law
her-
school, or he becomes a cowboy.
Well,
if it takes
I'm
place
pretty
back
sure.
in
I'm
the,
pretty sure there's a
1600s.
TV show called LA Law.
Yeah, it's L.A.
Hell-
Law. There you go, L.A. Law Land.
What, Hell or La La Land? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
I think you're getting it confused with the masterpiece that was Gangster Squad.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh, God.
Classic movie.
I mean, it's one of the lands that they didn't visit in Space Jam 2.
Yeah, it's one of the lands-
It's the land that is based on all around the TV show LA Law.
True. We went to other lands, but we couldn't go to the L.A.
Oh,
Law
God.
Land with Ryan Gosling. But
I'll go to any land that doesn't have
like-
CGI LeBron.
right. Yeah, I don't blame you. But I liked.
So don't play
episode
Fortnite
5.
because he's on there.
Look, I like episode 5. Okay, to get to the point. A lot of Easter eggs. So if you read the comics, you know you're having a orgasm as you're watching the episode. Thanos Cop was great. To see
Yeah, but here's the
Throg
thing:
was
nobody
great.
read those comics. Nobody read the comics.
Enough
no.
people read it to get it included on the episode.
Blog.
People
Most.
read it. Okay,
But you're
leave my Thanos
posers.
copter alone. And I agree
Nope.
with Chris Diaz. You redeemed yourself. Richard E. Grant was great, and he was the standout of that episode. Loved him. Final scene with him, absolutely loved.
And actually, I predicted that Richard E. Grant would be playing an older version of Loki. So
Like, you know
Right.
what?
Nikki, high five. High
Good
five.
job.
Wrong way. High five.
isn't it
Yeah.
great? Isn't it great being like?
I'm
this
happy. You know what?
broken-
You get the
You're
glory.
going two different
I called
directions.
Kang,
Internet
man.
is-
I called Kang, not a Mephisto situation. I called Kang, and
I mean-
so did JD.
So
Yeah,
did
we all-
Marvel. They
Yes.
also
I
called
called him.
him and told him to show up.
I mean,
called
we
him.
all knew. We all knew Kang was going to appear sooner or later.
True, but I called in Loki.
I'm just
Okay,
like
a
got
TV show is your
Why?
next big
Why
bad
did-
appearing in.
Watch if you like it, great. If you
I called
don't,
So-
it's I just
Excuse you.
help me. Help me.
Look, excuse you.
We're
To
trying.
get
We're
back
trying.
into
We're cutting Matt off as much as
To
possible.
get back into it. So, liked Richard E. Grant a lot. Thought he was the best part of that episode. Really cool final sequence where he,
Oh
you
my-
know, used the illusion to show Asgard. That was pretty cool. You know, the President Loki thing disappointed me because it basically was nothing. It led
Nice
to
job, though.
some cheesy action sequence. Liked the episode quite a bit. Episode 6 seems very mixed, but I loved it. I absolutely loved the episode. I didn't need a big action, you know, type of episode like WandaVision where a lot of it was all action. I was perfectly fine with them having a discussion about just, you know, what he does, just how important it is, explaining the multiverse, basically explaining, you know, in that episode how, you know, it won't feel like it's being just thrown in there when Spider-Man comes or when Doctor Strange is there. It feels more natural for the phase when it comes to the multiverse being introduced. It's not just being rammed right in there like a bad night at a gay bar. It's actually natural.
I was going to say between rammed in there, between rammed in there and
caught that.
Spider-Man coming, we have to
Yeah,
remember
I
Peter
caught that.
Parker's a high
I
school
had to.
student. We can't do that.
I had look. We got Toby. Okay, I'm specifically talking Toby. Okay, he's
Oh, Toby.
probably going to be in his 30s or 40s.
Yes,
no,
the man who hasn't acted in 7 years is going to come back to come on screen.
Chocolate. Alfred Molina. Chocolate.
True, yes, chocolate. But like, I understand there's some people that wanted the story to wrap up, be done, whatever. But you got to remember, this isn't like a movie. This is a TV show. A lot of TV shows, they'll wrap some things up, which they did. We got Loki's arc, basically for the last 7 years. With
TV shows don't have the same director throughout for a lot of them.
some, but they're showrunners.
This show is bridging a very weird line between
It's
film
TV,
and television.
movie. It's TV.
It's a
And
weird
I
line.
think more than the other ones, this could have dealt
Excuse me.
with a 2.5-hour movie runtime.
It could have been a movie, but still, I mean, I consider the director just the showrunner, and they all have their showrunners. So that's excuse you, but still, it's a TV show. It's gonna wrap things up. We got Loki's arc wrapped up, where from 2012 Avengers to what he was like in Infinity War to where he would sacrifice himself. We got that type of arc. That was nice. Sylvie's thing for right now, excuse you, wrapped up. But TV shows also but TV shows usually do end on cliffhangers too for the following season. It gives you something to look forward. Excuse you. Gives you something to look forward to for the following season. Look at Mandalorian season 1. He had some things wrap up, and then we had the Darksaber with Moff and all that. So it left things open. It's setting up just the future of the MCU. They got to play it really careful. I trust Feige. He did have a meeting with a lot of the story people for how they're going to handle the multiverse. The rules are going to be set for it. So that's good. He knows how important this is. And I think they're doing the multiverse specifically because Kevin Feige wants to push himself and give himself a challenge. We saw what happened with phase 1 through 3 with the MCU, with Iron Man ending with Endgame. Just that whole entire arc. A lot of people at the time where it was all starting didn't think anything like that could be pulled off. He was able to do that. Now he's working on the next challenge. And I do think once this challenge for him ends, Kevin Feige is going to leave and go do something else because he wants to continue to challenge himself. But that's kind of why I think he wanted to do the multiverse too. But still, loved Jonathan Majors as Kang. Right. And I know some people weren't the biggest fan of just Kang almost being like the silly, goofy guy. But I think it's going to add to when we see him next time as a more terrifying, evil Kang. I think it's going to add more to it. That's why I really liked it quite a bit. And like I said, I'm fine with the conversations as long as it adds to it. Adds to the whole episodes, explains everything because they really needed to explain a lot with Majors being in this episode. So I thought it was good. Sets up Ravona's, next, I guess, chapter in the MCU. Sets things up, ends some things. I liked it a lot. And it's my favorite MCU show.
Yeah.
All right.
I will bounce off that. But yes, you said Kang was going to be in there from the start, and in my head, I knew that there's probably a chance we might see him beforehand. I do not expect to see him in the whole episode.
Right.
And that. Because I kind of had the feeling that we will probably see him in a post-credit scene or something. But yeah.
Right.
Because if this was the first one that was filmed, it kind of makes sense why the announcement was made when it was that Jonathan Majors was going to be in Quantumania as Kang, because they already had him cast and they already filmed his bits anyway. So, and to bounce off what Chris was saying, the kiss between Loki and Sylvie was great. It's fine. Well, it wasn't yes.
I will say it makes absolute sense because Loki, of course, is going to love himself.
I was going to say we went over this a couple of weeks ago. We went over this a couple of weeks ago. It's the difference between it's not really incest; it's more like masturbation. No one wants to see it, but it's not shamed or illegal, so you can show it.
That's the most Loki thing you can do.
No one wants to see it.
It's like when Jim fucked the pie in American Pie. Yeah.
It's not. No, that's nothing like it when Jim fucked the pie.
It's morally gray, but it's on screen, so enjoy.
Aaron.
Yeah.
This isn't helping my hiccups.
I'm sorry. I'm trying. I am.
Saying excuse you.
in my opinion, it would have been weirder if we'd seen Loki go all the way with Sylvie. Yeah.
Them laying in the bed,
This is what
start
I
out
don't
an
understand,
episode.
though.
Like what are we talking?
I don't
Bearskin rug
No.
or with like?
We're
The
talking
only-
3 a.m.
Since
Adventures
they
at
don't
McDonald's.
show
type stuff.
anything, since they don't show
Excuse me.
anything about like Sylvie, about how like she's any different than any other Loki, the only thing we have to go off of why Loki might be endeared toward her is that, oh, she's a woman, but he's bisexual. So why wouldn't he have gone for one of the other Lokis?
Because Loki's gonna love
Listen.
himself, and that's who he hung out with the
Boastful
most.
Loki would have been a good time. Daddy Loki would have been a good time. What the
Daddy
hell?
Loki would have been good.
Goodman
Look,
Madonna
if Daddy
Loki?
Loki was in multiple episodes, I'm sure some fun stuff would happen. And Boastful Loki, I don't think it would have worked out because he seemed like a dick.
President
And then
Loki.
you have I wanted Croaky. Okay, I wanted Croaky and Loki together.
I want to do the hokey pokey.
No, that was
And
Throger,
shake it
not
all
Croaky.
around.
That was Throger.
I can't do this.
I mean, they called him Croaky even though it's clearly an alligator.
Oh, that's what the alligator's called. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
What did you think of the smoke monster?
Elias?
I hated it.
I loved it. Made
I mean,
sense for
my-
the end.
Better than
love-
Galactus.
I was
You
indifferent
loved
for
the
it.
CGI smoke monster. You
Yes.
loved
It made sense for the show and where they were at. It made perfect sense to have something
I
like
loved
that.
CGI smoke monster. Beam
Made
of light in
perfect
the
sense.
sky. Bring it.
It wasn't like Galactus or
Yeah, it
having
was
kinda
the poop
was.
monster. No, because it filled the
poop
purpose.
monster from Green Lantern.
It's the guard dog.
Kind of was.
It's a guard dog. It's not like
Smoke
anything
monster
that's
from
going to
Lost.
matter for the future of the MCU.
It was
I
definitely
mean,
Maybe Loki, but not the future of Loki.
it,
MCU.
it was definitely derivative of other smoke monsters we've seen on screen. It's just in the context of what it was doing. Like if it had been another form of the main villain of the show, then I'd be like, yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah, I would've
but
felt the same.
as just a guard
Here's the
dog that's
thing.
an obstacle
But
in
if
one
the
episode,
guard dog was Fin Paint Fum,
they're saving that for Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
that's not Fin Paint Fum.
Yeah, they
The
already
dragon?
said,
Yeah, it
He
is.
said it
It's-
was.
It's a different dragon.
They said it wasn't different
Or
dragon.
it's an alien.
well, they're
It's
lying.
not.
It's
I
an
mean,
alien.
They're
It's
It's
lying.
lying.
like Jonathan Majors and Andrew Garfield. They're lying.
I mean, considering
Andrew
how
Garfield is too cool to be Peter Parker.
He's lying about being in the new movie, though. I told you, he's lying.
He was too cool to play him 10 years ago, too. So.
Yeah,
And Matt
it's true.
Smith was lying too. Matt Smith was lying about Rise of Skywalker.
Excuse you. He
but-
filmed stuff, though.
I have to
He just was
excuse hiccups now.
I'm saying excuse you for your hiccups. It's polite. It's manners.
I'm not
Okay.
burping. I'm not sneezing.
Your hiccups.
I'm
So-
in an
so-
involuntary spasm.
So before we move on, I thought it'd be fun to bring up, since we're pretty. I think we've pretty much said everything we need to say on Loki, guys. Anything left untouched we need to go through, except
Oh,
for
one more
Sylvie.
thing.
Loki got
Love
that.
the last shot. I'll throw it in there. I love the last shot.
All right,
Excuse
go
me.
ahead, Nikki.
With,
Last thoughts.
Last thought.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Okay.
That's me telling you to go.
I don't. Excuse you. I don't think he.
That was my last thought.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
I,
Malcolm, did you have
was-
something to say?
I was waiting until the hiccup
Yeah,
went so that I could say it, and then it just didn't work.
I mean, the last thing I was going to say is, considering the reveal of Kang in episode 6, it made a lot of sense that it was Alioth as the guard dog, because Alioth is directly connected with Kang in the comics.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Kid Loki.
Yeah.
Excuse you.
That's what I wanted to say. Kid Loki. Kid
Oh.
Loki is I think that's another reason they had that 5th episode, was to introduce Kid Loki, because in every single one of these series, they've introduced
Excuse
at least one of the Young Avengers, so they're clearly setting some sort of Young Avengers thing up. Even though I don't think it's the most
To be
exciting
fair,
thing in the world. Yeah.
with this Sylvie is going to be the
Oh, she won't be.
like-
She's too old to be
Oh,
younger.
well, and that's one of those ones. Well, the Sylvie was confirmed to be a Loki in the series. Whether she's connected with Young Avengers anyway, she becomes the Enchantress with some multiverse weirdness. I don't know, but the name Sylvie is connected with the Young Avengers as well. So.
They shouldn't. I don't think she'll be in it as much as like Kid Loki, because he's actually young.
Well,
Like,
no,
I
I
just-
mean, I agree with you.
Like,
I'm just saying there's like that connection there as well. So
no, I know that. It's just comics, and Sylvie's the Enchantress in the comics. It's just I think they've gotten more with the Enchantress version than the Lady Loki version.
What? Aaron, play the video before we get distracted
man.
again.
No. So I don't have a
Is there
video,
anything
but
in New Zealand that gets rid of hiccups?
Laughing, but it's not working.
Laughing? Make me laugh, damn it!
where I'm trying, man. I pulled out American Pie.
You're too dry. You really think I was allowed to watch American Pie when that movie came out?
Excuse you. Here's my grandpa. I think you might laugh at my grandpa.
I haven't lost my virginity to pie yet.
Excuse you.
Oh my god. Okay.
I think my final thought on Loki and also these three Marvel shows is that Marvel has a villain problem in its TV shows, and it needs to do better and have stronger villains.
Yeah, that I would agree with that.
Morgenthau would have been better had they had the original script that they were able to. They had to heavily modify that because they had the right actor for it. Like, she's a great. Excuse me, I'm sorry. If I say excuse me, I won't have 3 seconds more before the next pickup.
Well, I'll say it for you.
Jesus, Matt, let him talk. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So we'll go ahead and move on. So I was going to say.
Thought.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Go.
I said that like before Nikki went and had his hiccup.
Let it go naturally. Keep it casual, Aaron. We don't need to stick to the schedule. Loosen up.
If I let this go casually, we'd still be talking about Loki in an hour.
I know. It's fine.
I said I had a final thought before Nikki went and Malcolm
went
and Sean went.
I'm sorry, Matt.
So I've been waiting. I've been polite. You know what I mean? It's a round table discussion. Excuse you.
God, I feel like I'm dealing with a first grader. Go ahead.
Here we go. My last final thought. Excuse you. So for me, what I like too, because I didn't get a chance to say it, was that final, like, I guess few minutes or whatever where they're in the TVA, you know, Loki's going up to Owen Wilson and stuff. Very disappointed no wows are in this episode or the entire series in general. But I loved how it all ended where just immediately you could tell something was completely different. I don't think, because I know a lot of people are saying, you know, there's multiple different TVAs and he just happened to be in the wrong one. I think it's the exact same TVA that we've seen for a long time. I just think Kang came in, wiped their minds completely. That's why they forgot who Loki was and all that stuff. And then the whole thing where we see Kang's statue and that final shot knowing, okay, because that's like the Kang that we need to fear, because the one we saw in the episode, he had the garbs and everything. The statue was like kind of the traditional without the blue face and whatnot Kang, just the suit and whatnot. Love that a lot. Like I said, very excited to see how it all sets up the next few movies.
Where do you think the TVA is located then? If that
it's outside of the timeline, it's its own thing.
In the quantum realm?
They just said it's out of the timelines and everything. It's its own thing. That's why.
If it's out of the timeline, it has to be somewhere.
But anyway, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to bounce off of that little last point a little bit. Part of the reason I do think this is an alternate version of the TVA, and I do go on to when we did our big Loki series discussion over on Take 3 the other day, but in the background shot you actually see the clerk guy, the what is a fish guy in the background as a hunter, which he wasn't from the get-go, and he's even credited as Hunter K, whatever his number is in the credit. So that's why I think this is an alternate version of the TVA as opposed to the same TVA but Kang wiped the memories of.
I mean, it could be. I just think it's all one because, like I said, they're able to control all the timelines for the sake of timeline anyway. Like I said, it could all have been a lie. Maybe it is a different one. But I still think just based on what I've seen, there's only the one TVA. It's not a part of the timeline. That's why Mobius and all them, I don't think age unless they continue to take variants of those guys and replace them as they get older or whatever.
I mean, it's like religion. Everybody's religion is sacred to themselves. So they all have their own timeline.
True, excuse you. But I agree. I think the shows need to improve with the villains. Although if Ravonna is going to be labeled as the villain of the show, I thought she was really good in it. Kang, like I said, we'll see him more in the future, and he'll have his time to really shine as like a villain. Even though Jonathan Majors, I think, was great. It's my favorite season finale or series finale of the three yet. WandaVision. It honestly made me feel like the show was pointless in general because there was only like a thing or two that you really needed for the MCU. Everything else could be completely thrown out. Plus some of the characters, how they handled, I didn't really like either. How they handled it. I don't care that Quicksilver wasn't in it, but it's just how they handled everything. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier was good, but it wasn't as great as I was hoping, especially with how that series was going for me anyway. But yeah, I love Loki. Favorite of the shows, favorite season finale yet. Very excited for season 2 and the future of the MCU with all the craziness that's going to happen. And I agree. This is how Deadpool will be brought into the MCU. It makes sense.
All right. With that said, I was gonna bring up briefly before we get on to the next big topic. Yeah. I didn't record a video for it, but I thought it was worth mentioning, even though we're not talking about news this week. How many of you guys, because I wasn't, but how many of you guys were able to see the What If trailer that was released shortly before the finale of this show? So I'll go ahead and bring it in, and I'll let you guys briefly talk about your thoughts on it. So earlier this week, the first full trailer for Marvel's What If was released. Alongside of it, we got a bunch of extra information related to the show. First off, the series will release on August 11th, 2021, so that's about a month from now. Originally, it was announced that the show had been put into production for 20 episodes. We now know, based on this announcement, that it'll be 10-episode season, so it has 2 seasons already fully produced and made. We also got what we believe is a full cast announcement of people who are in it. Obviously, Jeffrey Wright is the only starring actor in the show as Uatu, but the full list of actors they announced, and I'll just run down the actors, not the characters, but Haley Atwell, of course, the final performance of Chadwick Boseman, Josh Brolin, Dominic Cooper, David Dastmalchian, Michael Douglas, Karen Gillan, Jeff Goldblum, Seth Green, Frank Grillo, Sean Gunn, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Jimon Honsu, Samuel L. Jackson, Toby Jones, Michael B. Jordan, Neil McDonough, Natalie Portman, Jeremy Renner, Michael Rooker, Paul Rudd, Mark Ruffalo, Andy Serkis, Sebastian Stan, Chris Sullivan, Stanley Tucci, and Taika Waititi are all returning as their respective characters in the MCU. We also know that Iron Man, Captain America, The Collector, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel will appear in the show. However, none of their actors were brought back for the series. They will be replaced by professional voice actors. And it was also noted on a separate site that other characters we've seen in the trailer who have yet to be addressed as whether the actor is coming back or they've been replaced include Spider-Man, which it's most likely believed that Tom Holland will not be back, considering his contract is under Sony, not Disney, which would mean they'd have to create a whole separate contract for him for it. But we also have the Ancient One, Ego, Vision, Ultron, Black Widow, Gamora, Drax, Scarlet Witch, Ramonda, Aunt Shuri, and the Dora Milaje. So this is a series, if you guys don't happen to know what What If is, it is every single episode is its own separate story. It is a what if concept, so it's just these crazy different ideas.
They seem to be crossing over somewhat.
Probably, yeah.
Some episodes may have some crossover, but from what they've said, the general idea is that every episode has its own different plot line.
No, I know that's what they said, but the trailer says something very different. The trailer makes it seem like this is like an overarching plot. Potentially. As I said, will you step away for a second? I have the trailer, so who knows?
I have not seen the trailer, so I don't know. But I'll go ahead and run it around to you guys if you want to give a quick thought on it. I just thought it's Marvel related. It's related to the multiverse.
Seth Green,
Howard the Duck.
Yeah, that's who I thought he was. I thought I heard that somewhere previously. I think it was just a throwaway line that he had in Guardians.
I believe he went uncredited on both his previous appearances. But now he is as a credited actor for the show, for the episode he'll be in. So I'll just go around in a circle, starting with Matt going around. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
I liked it. It's nice. This will be, the 4th appearance of Howard the Duck now, because of 2 Guardians. And then he was also technically an in-game in the background. nothing
Oh, yeah,
like major, but
next
it's like
to
keep
Wasp.
an eye out and you'll see him.
He's checking
Yeah.
out Wasp. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But
That Wasp.
which makes sense for Howard the Duck. But excuse you. But no, I liked it. You know, I liked the whole idea of like, what if this happened instead of this and whatnot. And I do think some of these things could tie into the actual MCU. Like, let's say, you know, with Doctor Strange, you know, all that stuff happens and Haley Atwell comes in as was it Captain Britain or whatever, or
Captain Carter.
Captain Carter. Maybe she comes in and then she's in for somewhat, or maybe some of these other people come in and whatnot. That could be cool. I wish they would have got you know, Robert Downey Jr. to do the voice, Chris Evans. I'm really shocked that Benicio del Toro didn't do it. I'm kind of surprised he rejected them or wasn't asked, which I'm sure he was asked.
Could be scheduling too.
True.
To answer part of your question, the show was done. The voice acting for the show was done in 3 different sects. So basically, they had chunked out time where they recorded. Yep. The first was from August through September 2019. The second was believed to be done in February and March of 2020, prior to the pandemic. And then the third was done in February of this year. So part of it may have been availability. The other part of it was pay, specifically for Evans and Downey Jr. as they are out of contract with the studio. They simply did not want to pay to bring them back. That's also part of the reason, and it obviously it relates to it. But we found out later that that rumored Iron Man cameo in Black Widow was originally there. It got cut partially because of Robert Downey's contract. They would have had to technically re-sign him and pay him again to use it, so they cut it.
Excuse me.
But someone like Benicio, it all just depends on how much money he commands. Maybe he just costs too much.
True. I'm just shocked that it didn't work out. But no, I will say before we go, Nikki, check out the Sebastian Stan video with him doing the voice stuff for the What If show. It's pretty funny.
Cool.
All right, go ahead, Nick. What were your thoughts?
I know with Star Trek, like Star Trek Lower Decks, like Jack Quaid was saying that he did a lot of the voice acting for season 2 in his closet. So it must be a money thing, because otherwise they could have just gotten them.
Right.
I know they were doing that for Bad Batch too. Like some of the voice acting sound like the sound quality sounds distinctively different. Like I'm so sorry that
you're good.
That Trandoshan character that's in the bar is like voiced by the lady from Cheers, and I'm pretty sure she did her voice acting remotely. So
I didn't know that. Say, because I could record audio. Just
are we going to talk about Black Widow?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So, any more thoughts on the trailer?
I like.
I thought the trailer was really good. It was really exciting. I wish they did different like animation styles, kind of like the Animatrix, for some of the different what ifs.
Oh, okay,
but no, it looks really cool and entertaining.
Yeah. I like the animated style too.
All right, so then Malcolm, last one to go. Thoughts on the trailer?
But yeah, I really don't love this trailer. And this is one that, well, yes, the trailer made it look like that some of this overarching plot might be an overarching plot. It's still hard to tell at this point in time. I think some of the characters will cross over, and I think that's what it looks like. It's going to be overarching, but I mean, and I think mostly it's availability that some of the people aren't coming back, because when you think about it, like Chris Evans was filming Knives Out in 2019, so that's probably why he wouldn't have been available for that batch. Then he was filming a movie called Don't Look Up, and he's also I don't know if that production started on Lightyear yet, but he's also doing that as well. So he's had a few things over the past couple of years that he's been busy with. So that could explain why he might not have been available. And some of them might just be money, like Robert Downey Jr., I think, is probably a case of money. I'm one of those ones that never believe.
This show ain't worth the dump truck.
I mean, it's one of those ones that it's one of those ones I never believed that there was going to be an Iron Man cameo in Black Widow at all. But that being said, I did read a rumor that is just a rumor because the only site I've seen that covered it is We Got This Covered, which is not a legitimate news source.
1% chance it's real, but
is saying that Haley Atwell is going to be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness as Captain Carter. So whether or not that's true or not, I don't think it is, unless it gets supported by Deadline. But
all right. So for the sake of Nikki's ailing hiccup health right there, I was gonna say we'll go ahead and move on to Black Widow first. Malcolm, I know you haven't seen it, so if you want to dip, I'll shoot you a text when we're done if you want to come back for the last segment.
I mean, I'm gonna dip anyway. I've got to start getting ready for work anyway.
Oh yeah.
But
right.
You can find me over on Take 3, where I host stuff, and Ball Metal, where I host stuff. But yeah. See you.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you being here, man. We'll see you next time. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Nikki finally got some food in him. Hopefully it helps. And while he's swallowing, let's go ahead and intro Black Widow. Black Widow, the latest offering in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the series' first theatrical release since 2019 Spider-Man Far From Home, opened last weekend, setting a new post-pandemic record while making a majority of the world happy. Widow opened at the top of the weekend box office, breaking the previous $70 million opening set by Fast 9, making $80.4 million in its 3-day opening at the box office. It's also worth noting that the movie far exceeded expectations and broke the Disney Plus Premier Access record by grossing over $60 million in sales on the platform. This theoretically means, when you average out ticket prices and how many people could be watching in each home, that if the film had been released in a pre- or well post-COVID world, it easily would have broken the $150 million mark at the box office on its opening weekend. All in all, calling it a success. To recap, the top 5 for this week were: at number 5, A Quiet Place Part 2, which grossed $3.2 million on its 7th week. Number 4, The Forever Purge, which grossed $7.2 million on its 2nd week. Number 3, The Boss Baby Family Business, which grossed $8.9 million on its 2nd week. Number 2, F9, The Fast Saga, which grossed $11.4 million on its 3rd week. And of course, Black Widow at number 1, which grossed $80.4 million on its 1st week. Reception-wise, the film went over well with audiences too. The movie focuses on Natasha Romanoff, fresh after the events of Captain America's Civil War. After having left on the run, Romanoff is contacted by her former adoptive sister, Yelena Belova, who reveals that not only was her Budapest mission to end the Red Room a failure, but that its leader, Dreykov, had now invented a way of eliminating the free will in his widows, granting him literal full control of them. Romanoff and Belova have to reteam with former friends and confront their past to make sure it can destroy no one else's future. The movie opened to an overall positive reception, scoring an 80% like rating amongst critics on Rotten Tomato, with the average score being a 7 out of 10, and has an A- on CinemaScore audience exit polls. The movie was directed by Kate Shortland, easily her biggest project to date, and based on a script written by Eric Pearson of Thor Ragnarok, Ned Benson of The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, and Jock Schaefer, the recently Emmy-nominated showrunner and head writer of WandaVision. The film's ensemble includes Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, O.T. Fegbenle, Ray Winstone, and Rachel Weisz. The movie is currently available in theaters and on Disney Plus, available through Premier Access purchase. All right, so Nikki, I'll shoot it over to you first, since I know this was the one you were enthusiastic to get to, brother. What were your thoughts on the film?
I loved it. Yeah, no, I've seen it a few times. Initially, like I didn't. Please,
Just play.
initially I was a little underwhelmed, but the more I watched it, the more I really appreciated it. I think that opening sequence set to the Nirvana song, it's heartbreaking. Like it really shows. It makes Endgame more impactful, just knowing everything she went through. Like, she's a victim in like the truest sense, and she really just overcomes that. This movie was really personal to Natasha Romanoff, and that's why I think some people are upset about it, because they wanted something completely different for Taskmaster. Whereas I think this is better for a Black Widow movie because it makes it personal to Black Widow. That is the most personal thing that could have happened in that movie. Taskmaster taking the mask off. the most personal thing that could have been is her mistakes, her demons coming back to haunt her. So I think as far as Black Widow goes, the context of that movie goes, the twist works. I think you do get that hero moment thing with Yelena, how she does have a lot of hero moments in this movie. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, but I loved it. I think that Red Guardian and Melina, they should not have gotten a pass. I mean, they knew exactly what was going to happen, so I think they should have gotten a little bit of punishment towards the end of the movie. But there's a lot of theorized and repercussions on this movie, like the Captain America stuff, the stuff with the shield, the Red Guardian shield. But there's a lot of stuff there. I'm sorry, I won't make you guys suffer and hear my hiccups anymore. But I love the movie. 2 thumbs up. Yeah, it's great, and yeah, it really did. She did all of the Black Widow things, like in this movie. Like she hacked the hard drive. She thank you for your cooperation. She had the nano mask. Like she did all of the Black Widow things, and I loved every second of it.
All right, I'll bounce to Sean next. What were your thoughts on the film?
I think Scarlett Johansson is like absolutely has this character down. This was her like 8th or 9th time doing the character, so it really shows. She just embodies Black Widow. Yelena, I thought Lawrence Pugh was hilarious. I can't wait to see her in other MCU shows or film. I also thought Red Guardian.
You can say Hawkeye. It's a spoiler.
Or Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Also thought David Harbour as Red Guardian was also very funny. I would have liked to have seen him throw down a little bit more because he is very strong. Like it was cool watching him escape from the prison, but I feel like his fight with Taskmaster was kind of underwhelming. You didn't really like see him do any cool, powerful, strong stuff. So those are the positives, but other than that, I guess the negatives would be I thought this movie was total fucking trash. The only movie I thought was worse than this in the MCU was Captain Marvel. At least this was funny. Captain Marvel was not. I didn't like a lot of the character motivations. I thought this was way too late for a Black Widow film. This should have came out like 10 years ago or 9 years ago. The third act, the end of the second act, just kind of lost it. We went into that like crazy CGI third act Marvel fuckfest of people fighting. The Taskmaster thing I saw from a mile away. I knew it was going to be the guy's daughter because Olga was credited in the beginning credits for the movie. So obviously, I was like, I haven't seen her in the trailers. I was like, I wonder who she's going to be. Probably the person under the mask. Some of the Russian accents were going in and out, especially like Ray Winstone and David Harbour sometimes. And I just wanted like Black Widow is the Marvel spy, but I thought the better spy film was Winter Soldier. So I wanted this to be better than it was, and it kind of sucks that this is her last film. But I guess for me, I still enjoyed the film. I'm a Marvel fanboy, and theaters just opened for the first time since last summer here in Ontario, Canada. So this was the first movie I've seen in a very, very long time, and still had an awesome experience. And yeah.
You're Canadian?
I'm Canadian.
What?
Maple syrup, igloos, sorry, and toque.
I thought it was sorry.
So, that's Eastern Canada.
Okay. Well,
I like Canadian.
excuse you. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Let the hiccups
Speak freely,
come out.
Nikki. Speak freely.
It really hurts. My chest hurts so
Drink
much.
excuse you. Just drink like really hot water, like salt water, like gargle it.
I've
that
been
might
trying everything. Food made it worse.
I gargled salt water, and when I had it once, and it worked. I only tried it once.
Really
but it
works for me. I just ran out of peanut butter.
Dang. That sucks. So
Okay, go ahead.
Forgot it. They were gone, and then it happened again. No, I hear what you're saying. Like too little, too late for Black Widow. I just love the character motivation. Like I think the human trafficking element. Like she was trying to save these girls that like from the life that she's had, and like I just thought there was something really beautiful about that.
Right. So for me, I liked it. I didn't love it or anything, but I liked it. It's nice to see an MCU movie in the theaters for the first time in 2 years. That was a nice treat. I've only seen it the one time. I'll probably watch it one more time, unless I do like rewatches, because eventually she's going to come back. I don't buy that this is the end. I don't buy that at all. She'll be back. Now you got the multiverse. She's back. They'll bring her in because they want to save people, and yet whatever. I didn't have as much of an emotional impact with her death. Maybe because I knew Black Widow was going to have a movie. That might have played a factor. I probably would have liked this movie more if it came out before Endgame. Let's say if it came out maybe before, after Captain Marvel, whatever. Since it is set after Civil War. I mean, if they wanted it to be set during the Civil War, like post-Civil War timeline before Infinity War, okay. If they wanted to release it any time between Civil War and Endgame, I would have enjoyed it more. However, because I knew she was going to live, it didn't help me enjoy it as much. But I liked it. Taskmaster, I was just fine with. I thought Taskmaster's like the action sequences that they were in, I thought was pretty fun. I also knew it was going to be his daughter as Taskmaster because just how they're like, oh, you killed her daughter or his daughter. I was like, okay, well, there you go. That's Taskmaster right there. I knew that right away.
The room. Until they were in the room, I turned over to Devin and I said, like, it's his daughter. But like when they were in the room, that's when I figured it out. And so it got me, and they got me with the double take too, with the mask thing, and then the nerve thing. Like I fell for it. I was all for it. I thought it was a great spy movie.
I thought with the mask thing.
If you're a fan of old James Bond movies, Moonraker, one of the worst James Bond movies, is a James Bond movie where he does not kill anybody using a gun. Black Widow doesn't kill anybody using a gun. Gun in this movie. All she does is use a gun to shoot out windows. I love those sticks.
Right. But no, I did like the whole they had the mask thing where you push the button or whatever, and it actually wasn't her, because that was like a nice little they did that in Winter Soldier. That was kind of cool. They brought it back, it made sense with it being Black Widow.
What about the men?
The men?
The women were mind controlled? What about the men that were working for him? Were they all mind controlled too, and they're just like not worried about saving them, or were they all just that are into kidnapping little girls?
Nah,
men aren't as emotional.
Seems like an army.
Yeah, it seems like an army.
Okay. Yeah. Because if they were just like there following orders,
it's an old man. Okay, a lot of old men love younger women, so it makes sense.
Wow. Okay, so that was one of my one of my little.
There was nothing because they all seem they seemed like taskmasters, but like lighter.
Right.
Like that was my only concern. Were those guys mind controlled too?
I don't think so. Those just seem like militia.
Look, he's an old man, hates women, but also loves women at the same time. That's probably why went with women. But no, I enjoyed it. It's middle of the road MCU to me. Nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. Like I said, I'll watch it whenever I'm getting ready for the next Black Widow appearance. I did like the end credit scene. And I wouldn't have considered that a spoiler because before I think even Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, I believe in one of the casting reports for Hawkeye had a bunch of people and it included Florence Pugh. So even before that,
they had already announced prior to the movie that she would be a part of the cast.
Right.
We did.
Now I like Florence Pugh. What the whole post-credit sequence was about and how she's going to play into Hawkeye, that I would consider a spoiler, but since we already knew she was going to be in, I didn't really consider that spoiler. So I was like, that's kind of cool. But
the post-credit scene though, did any of you, when she whistled, did any of you expect Black Widow to like somehow be there whistling like the other? It was so heartbreaking. Like that was a really good setup for the movie where they did it twice, and then the third time where there's no response. Like I'm like sitting there in the theater, I'm like, she's there. She has to be there. Like knowing that she died in Endgame, just still holding out hope that she's gonna like whistle back. It was heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking.
I kind of expected her to show up there, and then Florence Pugh would be like, "Wait, what?" And it'd be like, "Hey, long story. Let me explain."
Like even if it was a Skrull, even if it was a Skrull, but I think they're gonna use her like as the face. Like, I think next time we see Scarlett Johansson, she's gonna be playing the Living Tribunal. I think that's what happens because of the Soul Stone exchange. Like the person exchanged for it, they become the Living Tribunal.
Right.
Or they become like the face of the Living Tribunal. Right. Not actually.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe they could explain that's how she's back.
Right now.
Not eternal, but eternal.
Maybe that's how, because technically he's supposed to return right when the soul was taken, soul stone was taken. So maybe that's how they explain it, where she was back, because since they brought the soul stone back to Vormir, maybe somehow she comes to life. I don't know. Kevin Feige will figure something out, and it will more than likely make sense.
Anyways, so before I get into my thoughts on it, I do want to bring this up because I think it's worth mentioning. So yeah, there was the point where this was supposed to be the original introduction of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Unless they cut stuff after the fact to not make this seem as introductory, because quite honestly, I don't know if they did. I'm glad things worked out the way they did, because if this was the scene in its entirety and there's not cut stuff that introduces her properly, this would have been a horrible fucking way to introduce this character.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Knowing her character and getting a proper introduction and taste for who the character is in that show, even if she was only in it for 5 minutes, it helped set up so that you understand who she is and her behavior and her quirks. But if you had no frame of reference for who this character was, and all of a sudden fucking Veep strolls up chewing gum loudly and acting weird and quirky, it's like, what did this turn into a sitcom in the credits? What the fuck happened? So I am glad that Falcon and Winter Soldier came first, because I think it's a much better introduction to this character.
And they can save the cut stuff for Hawkeye.
So, with that said, I kind of agree with what Matt said, where to me, it's almost dead center of the MCU. Because I score things out of 10, I gave it an 8. I think it is, again, in the MCU, even its lower tier stuff is still very, very solid. And I think this has a lot going for it. I think the action in it is very well done. Kind of like what I said with Loki. I think the acting in this is what really helps elevate a story that's not the best. I think especially the family unit, all of them are doing a great job. Ray Winstone playing a creepy fuck is perfect casting, so that worked.
Yeah.
For someone who's not drunk? He might have been.
Like, was the character supposed to be drunk?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Ray Winstone, from what I know about him, is like a really fucking downtown London type of guy, so he may have just been blasted showing up to set, for all we know.
There was a couple times he was speaking and he went totally back to English accent.
Yeah.
Oh, and whoever said that, I forget who called it, but the accents. Oh yeah, the accents are real shaky in this film at times.
Yeah,
and they're in Europe speaking broken English, even though we know the characters can speak passable American English.
So I want to get into it, because Chris has been in our comments just tearing the Taskmaster thing a new one, like he tore Tom and Jerry. And again, like with Tom and Jerry, I'm going to disagree with you and say it really wasn't that bad. Sure, especially if you're a comic fan. I believe the character's name is Tony Masters. It's not that. It's a complete and utter reworking of what this character.
Taskmaster is an F-list Spider-Man villain.
Fair enough. So it's a complete and utter reworking of the character, but I think it worked for what the story is. I do agree with Nikki's point. I think that considering they made this from the prism of it is Scarlett Johansson's last film, be damned what Matt says, even if he might be right down the road. It is Scarlett Johansson's last film. All based on that scene in Avengers.
That scene in Avengers. It's all based on that scene in Avengers between her and Loki. Dreykov stuff. Yeah.
So the fact that the movie is focused on essentially using her past to set up her future. So it also does make sense that her past is quite literally the whole movie is focusing on her past. And so her past is her future, but also it makes sense that her past is the thing that would come back to haunt her, right? So it is a twist that made sense. I didn't pick up on it quite as early as you guys seem to. I wouldn't say the movie had me fooled per se, because in my head I was going, there's two very obvious choices for this, and it didn't go with either one of them, so I honestly don't know who it would be. But once I kind of got to where it was headed, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. It works. My issues with the film, because again, all the same praise you can generally give to Marvel films, you could apply to this film. I think this film has real bad tonal whiplash at times. There are points where it is attempting to emulate films from the spy genre more than I think they've ever done before. Because Winter Soldier was a spy film, but it was doing more like 3 Days at the Condor. Robert Redford says it all. But this was going very much for the James Bond and very much in the camera work at times. And I brought this up on another channel. I was talking about the film with some guys, and I brought this up where I read after the fact that the intro scene for Yelena, where she's on that mission in the Middle East, I forget where it was, I think it's Morocco, that exact city and those buildings were used in a scene in the Bourne Ultimatum, and a lot of this film is shot like a Bourne film. They're very much emulating that type of film. Yeah. The problem is,
even the score sounds a lot like Giacchino's most recent Mission Impossible scores, but like it almost sounds like generic version of those scores.
And funny enough, you say that the gentleman who did it, Lauren Balfe, has worked on a lot of military stuff, including Michael Bay's 13 Hours and a majority of the Call of Duty games. So he is very much in that type of, that's the music team.
There's subtleties in there. Like I didn't necessarily, like, I remember coming out of that movie, especially compared to like Loki, where I think Loki, the score is the best part of the show. Like that's a top 5 MCU score. That boom, 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 boom. That is awesome. I love that. Like I'm humming that all day long. But like the Black Widow score, I was like, that was nothing special. But the more I watch that movie, the more I'm like, okay, you know what? I kind of like this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I've only seen the film once, but I found the score just kind of forgettable.
Yeah, how many times have you seen it? I loved it.
Just one. I saw it once.
Just once, yeah. No, I hear what you mean. Like, after the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, there was nothing like really there. But the more I watch it, the more I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. They recycle some of the themes a lot. Like there's this one theme that they use. It's kind of sad piano theme. They use like 4 or 5 times. I think that's one of the things that maybe they had a better score originally, and then decided not to pay for it just because of how long the film was delayed. That people weren't going to go on like repeat view.
Maybe. Right. So to kind of continue what I was trying to say, you're right, Nikki. You'll get there, buddy. We still got time before the show ends. It can end before it's over. So the movie to me has real tonal whiplash. When it's attempting to emulate the spy films, I think it's doing it well enough. But the problem is it goes from doing that to then cracking an MCU style joke, and at times it does pull me a little out of the film. I thought the opening to the film, like that opening standalone thing, the prologue, that's what it is. The prologue is what it's called in writing class. I thought the prologue was really, really well done. I wasn't as big on the intro of the film. I do get what they were going for from an emotional point. I was just distracted because I immediately recognized it as a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I was like, this is the weirdest use of this song since.
Yeah, it was totally off.
But
I think it works.
The tone that they were going for works. I think for me, it's just the recognizability of the song. Yeah. If it had been something I didn't recognize as easily, I think it would have worked better. But the cover style they went for,
that Devin was singing the song during the theater. I'm like, Devin, stop singing.
That was me as well. In my head, I'm like, the lights, that's a strand. Like I'm singing it, and I'm like, this is ruining what they're going for, and I know it is. Right?
Just because I like slow covers of old classic rock songs. Like I'm into that. That's my jam.
Yeah. So
Loser.
So there was that one, but then the next immediate scene is her doing MCU quippy dialogue with Ross, and I was like, right, this is an MCU film, not the spy film we've just done for the last 10 minutes. And so it would do that from time to time, and that pulled me out of it. I do think the writing, and it's funny that he just brought it up because I was going to get to that. The writing, a lot of this film is based on MacGuffins and Deus Ex Machina. Speaking of Deus Ex Machina, let's talk about Deus Ex Mason, which is O.T. Figbenle's Rick Mason, who for some reason, and I swear there is stuff with this character that got cut from the film. There has to be. He's fourth billed in the credits. He's in 3 fucking scenes, and the only time he shows up is to bring her something or give 4 scenes. Maybe.
Yeah.
And you take him out of the movie, it's inconsequential. Like if you take all of
it, get it from somewhere else.
The same movie. You don't need to know exactly where she got the stuff, because she even says, "Oh, I stashed that stuff 5 years ago." So it's not like he's giving her stuff. He's giving her stuff that's already hers. But for the
in that scene, yes.
So he's there to make you think that he's Taskmaster and all the marketing. That's all.
I feel like he was introduced and kind of set up for future. I feel like we're going to see him again.
Hopefully, because he was good.
Yeah.
He's charismatic.
I don't know.
Hunter on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I
don't know anything about him. My mom, as someone who watched *Handmaid's Tale*, recognized him, but I knew nothing about. I don't know him. I haven't seen him in anything. Yeah. Which, by the way, speaking of the Emmys, he was Emmy nominated for that. So congratulations to
Aaron's
him.
mom has got to go. She knows.
Please don't. No, I know what that song's about. Let's not.
I have to disagree with Chris in the comments. I actually think the version in Pan. Yeah, excuse me, Nikki. The version in Pan is really good.
Okay, we're done.
Hugh Jackman
moving on.
Doing it.
So, Jesus Christ. All right, so yeah, so the tone is an issue for me with the film. I think at times the writing and more of the convenienceness of the writing is an issue for me. And it's not that what they're doing doesn't work. I think it's just the fact that they do it for everything. There's a character that can get her everything they need. Everything related to the villain has some sort of chemical pheromonal, whether it's the gas that releases you, the pheromones. There's always something to reason it out. It's like, this all seems a little fucking
basal ganglia. I mean, if you can map the basal ganglia, you might as well.
And just her even like severing her nerve by hitting her face on the table, I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Which I could have gone a whole lifetime without seeing her fix her broken nose, because I didn't realize she broke it until she snapped it back. And I was like, oh, no, so did not need that one.
A couple other things. I found like the black
is pretty gory.
I found that the Black Widows, they didn't seem like a formidable force at all. Like they just kind of shot guns. They didn't do anything cool, really.
Like that last scene, like she lost that fight against them.
But that was like 50 against 1. Like, and they were just kicking her, right? It wasn't anything spectacular.
So to your point on that, and this was something I talked about. This was something I brought up on the other show I guested on, where we talked about Black Widow. But it is, your point's correct. Through most of the movie, the widows themselves don't seem anything more than just your average agents. They really don't seem to stand out. But that one scene at the end is the one that I liked, and I wish they had treated them more like that through the rest of the film. Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, everyone makes comments about like, oh, Natasha against Thor, like who's fucking winning that one, right? But it's like Natasha went through some of the most, abusive, but intense, strengthening training that a spy could go through. And so when you have other Black Widows who have gone through the same training she did, theoretically they should be as strong as her. Through most of the film, we only really see Yelena prove that she's as strong as her. But I like in that scene,
and she's genetically superior too.
I like. Do they? Okay. I like in that scene that she doesn't easily win. She only gets out of that scenario because Yelena saves her. Because so maybe she is slightly genetically superior, but the point in being, if you have a bunch of people who have all gone through the same training, all have the same set of skills, it's the equivalent of like if you took Jason Bourne and put him in a room of 10 opposing Jason Bournes, the 10 Jason Bournes are going to beat the one any day because they all have the same skill set. So it's really just 10 versus 1. I saw that happening, and based off the way they framed it in the trailers, I thought, oh, this is going to be some mega hero moment where she kicks their ass. No, they went with the logic side of it.
Use the term right there, hero moment.
Right. You're correct. It is a hero moment.
There's a lot of them in this movie. And like you said, Jason Bourne against 10 other Jason Bournes. It's more like Jason Bourne against 10 other Jeremy Renners.
I think the thing also with Jason Bourne is you see him get hurt. Like in this film,
I like those movies.
Natasha's power level seemed like she was almost like Captain America. Like that when they're chasing her out of that apartment with Yelena and they she falls like 5 stories and bangs on a bunch of vents.
Right.
And then she lands on her feet. I was like, that's like something Captain America would do.
Oh, yeah.
she's
And
fine.
the other
incredible.
and anytime another widow falls off a height like that, they die.
Yeah, it was just like so
Yeah.
inconsistent with her character and power. Like,
No, you're right. It
you guys
is.
know that the hourglass was the black. That's just what Black Widows look like. The spider.
Yes,
yeah.
Apparently, a lot of people don't know that.
I believe it. Have you seen the
I got-
American education
I
system?
got questions this week going like, "Hey, is that connected to Loki at all with the hourglass?" I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
In Canada, it's taught in every class that what
Yeah.
the Black Widow looks
In
like. the
Canada, they
spider.
teach you
Do you-
things in school.
Do you
instead
guys
of
want to
just-
know how bad the education system? This is actually a standardized fact that I learned while being trained to be a substitute. So this is something that is accepted. In Florida, the average student should be treated like they are always two grades behind their reading level, meaning it is normal for a 6th grader to be reading at a
That's
4th
not
grade
though.
level.
Yeah.
mentality. Always prepare for the worst because then you'll at least be prepared. Unlike when I'm like that's my problem. When I was in school and I had all my surgeries,
Mhm.
I was always
Crazy.
2 years behind, and the teachers were always like, "Why didn't you learn this last year?" And I'm like, "I didn't go to school last year."
Right.
True. But the problem is in my learning thing, they talk specifically about where the stats used to be, where the stats fell, and how they've adjusted to treat it as the norm, and that's the issue.
Look,
The state
I'm telling you,
acknowledges they fucked up and just went, it's normal now, fuck it.
it's not just Florida. It's all
It's
It's
every
everywhere.
school.
No, it's everywhere.
Well,
Massachusetts that claims to be
Sean, you got a
superior.
spare room in Canada? I need to do elementary school again. Truthfully, that's clearly.
So this is what I learned. Working out
Go
of
ahead.
school, won't disclose the name because not going to say the name. But anyway,
Legal reasons?
the school corporation that I work for, what I've learned was how they grade everybody and treat everybody is if you're in middle school and you fail a class, you don't get held back. They move you forward. It doesn't matter how bad of a student you are. They continue to move forward. They don't help you. They don't do anything at all. And then they just throw you right into high school right away. And it's like, oh, clearly there's kids who aren't supposed to be there at that moment because they clearly need to go back and learn some of those classes. Now they're completely fucked for their entire high school career. They might get held back now because high schools, they don't care. It's like, we don't care what happened in middle school. You have to do this now. So it's everywhere. It's bad. There's a lot of people who aren't like in any of like the special education classes who can't read at a 7th grade level that are like seniors in high school.
Yeah,
You're better off
that's-
just learning everything on YouTube.
Yeah, true. Excuse me.
Like
Yeah.
the problem, and we'll get off the education rant in a minute.
Yeah.
I know Sean's bored because they treat people well up there, but like Nikki, with your
Yeah,
history, like
that's-
with your history with your back issues and
Mhm.
how it affected your schooling, you should be the exception.
Yeah.
The problem is how that affected you. Basically, just made you like a normal student, and that's the part that's scary because they don't adjust. Like they
Right.
either accept it too much or they don't accept it at all, and neither is helping the students.
Right.
But with that said, Black Widow's a solid
Talking about
enough
that,
film.
I finished my school's curriculum for because I was at a vocational school. I finished the curriculum for seniors when I was a sophomore before I had my back stuff, and then when I came back, they altered the curriculum,
Oh wow!
and I was just like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm not,
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah.
I can't do it again." I'm
But
gonna,
yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead, brother.
Widow. I'm dying. I'm gonna try to sleep and just chug a bunch of milk. Hopefully that'll help.
Milk could probably might
Thanks
help.
for
Yeah.
having me on,
Yeah,
guys.
might help.
See you next week, hopefully, brother.
Long and
Thank you for
prosper,
being
guys.
here. All right, so okay, now we'll go ahead and go to this one. Okay, so with that said, do you guys have anything else to add on for Black Widow? Anything you want to discuss, or do you want to go ahead and move into our last segment?
I think my one last thing is, I feel like with Taskmaster, when she took off her helmet, was Olga's head like CGI'd onto Taskmaster's body?
It might have
Kind of
been.
weird, kind of fuzzy, and I feel like Taskmaster was played by a dude, like the stunt double, and the proportions
That's
did
what I was
not
gonna
match what Olga is.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I thought I heard they casted some guy to be Taskmaster.
Yeah,
which I mean
if-
could have been
if-
just like to distract.
If I remember if I remember correctly, and I don't know how often he was in the suit, but I believe it's a stunt actor named Oliver Richter. He was also in the film. He was the big dude who Red Guardian snaps his arm in the prison, but I believe he served as a body double in the suit for a number of the fight scenes. So definitely a body proportion thing, because Olga is absolutely fit for a woman. I mean, she's one of the most athletically fit people I've ever seen. But she is not that dude in terms of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dreykov did a lot of terrible things to his daughter, but I want to know what muscle re-engineering he did to her in the process, because there's no way. So to explain it, and the reason that I know it happened is because one of the writers, Eric Pearson, talked about it. So at one point, I believe it was after the intro to the film, the opening of the modern day was supposed to begin with that scene from Civil War where it was RDJ and her talking, her last scene in Civil War. And then there was a couple of extra lines of dialogue that he had overlaid with her kind of going on the run before it led into her being on the run. And so that's where it was. And Pearson basically said he didn't say Paychex had anything to do with it, but he kind of implied it. But he said the reason the writers made a decision to cut it, or they didn't feel bad cutting it, was because realistically it had no major impact on the story. It was just one of those, wouldn't it be cool to have Robert Downey Jr. here? And so they were kind of told to cut it, which I assume was a money thing, and so it got cut. Right. So those rumors were true. He was supposed to be in the film. It was cut. For one reason or another. I still believe it was most likely money. But he was supposed to be in the film.
That's what I thought. But...
Yeah, especially because, and again, that's part of the reason why I think he's not in What If either. Marvel have this weird thing where contractually, depending on how it's used and how it was shot, they have to pay certain people certain payments, and I just don't think RDJ's rate would have been worth that little bit at the start, just the same as it's probably not worth one episode of What If.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So if we have nothing to add on to for Black Widow, we can go ahead and get into our final discussion of the night, which was last week. For those of you who watch us regularly, if you do watch us regularly, thank you. We do appreciate it. We know there's not many of you, but those who do, we appreciate. The show does all right, all things considered, for the small show that we are. But consistent viewership is something we can't totally track. So if you are watching weekly, we do appreciate it. Last week, just because of scheduling, we didn't have enough people necessarily. Matt wasn't here. I was under the weather anyways. We just never went live. We didn't do a show. But one of the topics that was here last week that I decided to keep over, and it kind of fits with the theme, was the passing of director Richard Donner. Now, for those of you who may not know the name Richard Donner offhand, his probably biggest contribution to film was he was the director of the 1978 film Superman the Movie. He directed numerous projects as well. But he passed away last week, and it was going to be one of the topics on the show. And so when the show never happened, I decided, since he had a huge impact on the comic book world, specifically one man whose projects we've referenced tonight as well, I thought it would be a fun discussion to bring up. And this video is a little longer than normal, and I do apologize for that, but I thought it would be fun to kind of do an in memorial type video like Nikki did for Bozeman, except I'm not as good with graphics as him, so it's not as fancy. But here is kind of an in memoriam to Richard Donner, detailing his career, and then when we come back, we'll kind of briefly discuss any projects of his that we saw and loved that stood out to us. Is it not playing? I can't tell.
Just the still picture right now.
Yeah, it's just still photo.
Try it again. Well, this is fun. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
It was working the other day. I tested
Let me
it to
try
make
something
sure.
here.
I don't know.
Okay, I guess it's just that video.
Oh, that's weird. I played it the other day and it was Oh, well, man, fuck. All right.
Oh
Here,
no.
fuck it. I'll do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Yeah, I can do that. Still have it. Let me see. After Dark. You guys want to vamp for me for a second?
Yeah, do
Sure.
you remember when films were filmed on film? That picture just reminded me of how much of that film grain I actually missed showing up on my screens in the
I
theater.
know. They shouldn't call them films anymore. Just call them digis.
One time I was in a theater. I can't remember what movie it was, but something had happened and it stopped playing. And the like DVD Blu-ray logo started popping up on the screen because it was off for such a long time.
That's funny.
The audience just started laughing.
That's pretty funny. Now, I still remember going to the theater when they did film and whatnot, and the projectors going down, and it was like absolutely horrifying how like sometimes they'll stop working and it would make some like weird noises where the film will just stop and it would be like a weird screeching noise like coming through the speakers where it's just all just destroyed. Absolutely terrifying.
One of the big theater chain here in Toronto, they have this policy if like the sound or video is messed up for 15 minutes or longer, you get a free admission afterwards to whatever movie. And so whenever something little happens, if there's like a hair on the screen or the sound's a little messed up, I always just hope it lasts 15 minutes long.
Right. Yeah, we don't have that anywhere around.
All right,
us.
so I have my script up in front of me. I'll just pull the images up, and we'll do it live. Why not? Because what else could go wrong? Here we go. All right, so last week, famed director Richard Donner passed away, and we decided it'd be a good idea to discuss him this week and his contributions to film. Born Richard Donald Schwartzberg in April of 1930, he had a love for film from an early age, but first served in the U.S. Navy before retiring from the military to become an actor. After acting in a few small television projects, he was encouraged to switch to being a director as they felt he had a natural eye for it. Donner went on to work on a number of famous TV shows at the time, including Get Smart, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Wild Wild West, Gilligan's Island, and directing one of the most famous Twilight Zone episodes, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, starring William Shatner. Donner made his directorial debut of film with 1961's X-15, though it wouldn't be for 15 years till he would make his first major impact on film, directing 1976's The Omen. It was only 2 years later when Donner would become a household name, making the average man believe that a person could fly with 1978's Superman the Movie. The film was the first comic book adaptation at the time to take its source material seriously. And though rookie actors Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder were cast as leads Clark Kent and Lois Lane, Donner made use of his connections to Hollywood stars to put together a top-tier supporting cast to legitimize the film, including Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Ned Beatty, Jackie Cooper, and Terrence Stamp. And in conjunction with Star Wars releasing the year before, Superman helped establish that the science fiction and fantasy genre could work when taken seriously and could be done in a way that could earn the respect of general audiences, something that lasted through to today. Donner was also the original director of Superman 2, which was a controversial shoot. Both movies shot back-to-back, and tensions ran high between Donner and producer Pierre Spengler, which eventually led to Spengler halting production and firing Richard Donner, despite having filmed 75% of the film, and Superman being an undeniable success. This is a move that would have destroyed most directors' careers in the 80s, but Donner rebounded quickly by directing Inside Moves, which was released in 1980, the same year as Superman 2. While the film wasn't a box office smash or a critical darling, it was enough to keep the momentum of his career moving, and it led him to making hits throughout the 80s like The Goonies, Lady Hawk, Scrooged, and the original Lethal Weapon, which went on to spawn 3 sequels he directed through the 90s and effectively launched the careers of stars Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Donner continued to work through the 90s regularly alongside making the Lethal Weapon films, both as a director for films like Radio Flyer and as a producer, producing franchises like the Free Willy trilogy and films based on the show Tales from the Crypt, another TV show he directed for early in his career. Donner's contribution to the superhero genre wasn't quite done yet, however, as Donner's wife, Lauren Schuler Donner, had been given the opportunity to produce a film based on the comic X-Men. Donner pushed and convinced his wife to take on the project, believing that all the genre needed was another film to take its material seriously and reinvent the genre in a way that would make it successful, as he had done with Superman. Donner went on to become an executive producer of the first film and played a part in getting star Patrick Stewart onto the film when he set up a meeting between him and Singer on the set of a film he was directing at the time. He also worked with other smaller associate producers on the film, working with them as a mentor, including future Marvel producer Kevin Feige, showing them the ropes, in a sense, and always being an open well for advice. X-Men went on to become a major box office and critic success and effectively led to the relaunch of the modern era of superhero films in 2000, a legacy which still lives on to this day, considering most of this episode has been dedicated to Black Widow and Loki, content produced by Kevin Feige. Alongside Feige himself, many other directors in the superhero genre have noted that Donner's works and words of wisdom have provided them inspiration, including Bryan Singer, Tim Burton, Christopher Nolan, and Zack Snyder. In the time since his passing, many of Donner's former cohorts, including Feige and Snyder, have publicly tributed him. Fellow filmmakers who respected and love him, including Steven Spielberg, Chris Columbus, Patty Jenkins, and Scott Derrickson, have spoke out, as well as many actors who have worked under him, including William Shatner, Mark Hamill, Mel Gibson, Hugh Jackman, and Goonies co-stars Sean Astin and Josh Brolin. Donner directed his final film, 16 Blocks, an action film starring Bruce Willis and Mos Def, in 2006 before effectively retiring. Prior to his passing, he was considering coming out of retirement to work on and direct a fifth entry into the Lethal Weapon series, with both Danny Glover, and Mel Gibson set to return. However, at the time, it's unknown what the status of the film is. Donner is survived by obviously all those who remember and love his films, as well as his wife, Lauren Schuler Donner. He had no kids at the time of his passing. He was 91 when he passed away, believably from natural causes. All right, so during it, I heard a beep, which that was Nikki coming back in. What's up, man? So let's go ahead and get into it. Obviously,
but do you know it's not back?
What? The hiccups?
My back isn't.
Okay, guys, we're not going to be hiccuping. Yeah, no, so I'm happy to be here for this Donner tribute. Yeah, warm milk, everybody. Warm milk with a dash of nutmeg. It's an old recipe of Captain Picard's aunt that I got from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, I thought it would be a worthy thing to bring this back, not only for Donner as a director. I mean, he directed so many great films that people love, but the entirety of this episode is focused on modern, well, based on how we discussed tonight, I wouldn't say hits, but modern installments in the superhero franchise that was originally boosted to popularity by Donner, and after falling off thanks to absolute brilliant films like Batman and Robin and Steel, had to then be reinvigorated by a set of directors, writers, and producers that included, once again, Richard Donner. And that X-Men effect of people taking it seriously, despite the fact that we look back now and go, black spandex, it took it in a serious direction that has propelled the genre 20 years plus, because it'll continue to succeed. And I just thought, even without all those other films, that impact alone was worth bringing him up on today's episode. So I'll shout to whoever wants to go first. What's, if there's a film of his that you particularly love, or what were your thoughts on kind of his career as a whole, if you have any?
I think before we get into it, I just want to give it up for Aaron for doing all that live, reading off the script and playing the pictures and whatnot. That was very impressive, my man. You nailed it.
That was one of the better ones I've done live. Usually I fuck up more. Was that you, Nikki? Go ahead, speak. I hear Matt chanting, but I heard another voice.
I said you had the hiccups during the whole thing, and we didn't even notice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, Donner, I mean, the Superman, you will believe a man can fly. Like, that was my, first exposure to Superman. Like, Superman, growing up, I like Batman, the animated series. Like, that's what I always watched when I turned on the TV. But, Superman, that's what my dad's favorite thing in the world is probably Star Trek and Superman. His phone background has changed once over the last decade, and that was just to change his wallpaper from the Man of Steel Henry Cavill poster to the Zack Snyder's Justice League poster, which is the same poster just turned black and white. So Superman was really always the guy in our household. My first comic book was The Death of Superman. And it was because of those Donner movies that I was introduced to this sort of that was always canon to me. Like every time I saw those Donner movies mentioned, that was always canon to me. So like whenever I saw Superman things after that, that was always like the focal point. Well, why that's not right. That's not what happened in those movies. In those movies, it was like this. So like what people are like today with the MCU, that's what it was like growing up with those Donner movies. Like Neil before Zod, even though like you don't get really his vision of that movie, you wouldn't be able to have that movie because they set it up in Superman 1. So I mean, a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be said to some level, even though he didn't end up directing it, some contribution should be of Superman 2 should be given to Donner, because even though the credit did end up going to Richard Lester, it is well publicly known that a majority of that film was Donner's material that was reshot. Superman 2 was also written by the screenwriters of the original Superman, Leslie and David Newman, and of course, if you're a book fan, the famous Mario Puzo of The Godfather, who I believe Donner had a part in bringing into the film originally, and they wrote the script. So his impact is still there, despite the fact that Spengel got pissy and fired him. But it is what it is.
Have you seen the Donner cut of that movie?
I haven't seen either cut of Superman 2, quite honestly.
Oh, really? Huh.
No. I've seen the original.
Star Trek's.
I've seen the original, and I've seen Superman 4, because I heard it was laugh out loud bad. But the ones in the middle, I've never seen.
Well, keep your eyes peeled. Maybe I'll be you can see those movies on a screen near you sometime soon.
Understood. So Matt, Sean, Nikki as well, if you have anything else to add. Again, I'll go around to you guys. What's something about Donner's career that kind of stands out to you?
For me, it's a film that I don't know how big this film was when it opened, but it's a 1994 film starring Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, and I believe James Garner. And it's called Maverick. And it's just this awesome, fun Western film that Richard Donner directed. And I think it was one of the first Western films I had seen. I think I seen it on TV. And it was just hilarious. It was awesome. The action was great. Mel Gibson was fantastic. And it's just one of those gems in the library of Richard Donner that I think everyone should check out.
Nothing like 90s Mel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before the world knew he was a racist. Or it's anti-Semitic. That's more what it is. Not really race, specifically anti-Semitic, but either way.
Dropped a few N-bombs, whatever.
Oh, did he? Okay,
couple sugar tits being thrown in there.
Sugar tits.
Which, I mean, he's friends with that cop now that he called Sugar Tits, which is pretty funny, but still.
Wait, apparently he's friends with that cop.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
good friend of his. So
that sounds like a GTA stripper name, not an insult. Like Sugar Tits. Okay, but
hey, that was my nickname.
It was hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. Horrible.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
No, it's horrible. We're laughing, but it's really horrible.
Yeah, it's bad, but it's fun. Richard Donner, though. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, so many films, and there's even films that obviously I didn't bring up because you can't bring up everything, but Maverick is another one where I've never seen it personally, but everyone I've talked to that's seen it seems to enjoy it on a sliding scale, but there is a general enjoyment there. I do believe, if I'm correct, it's an adaptation of a show, right? It was a former show.
Yeah, there was Maverick. I don't know if it was based off of it or if the show was based off of it, or if they're different things, but yeah, there's a show Maverick.
It is based off the show Maverick. It is.
Okay.
Which James Garner was a part of.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
So that explains why he's in the film. Actually, let me check the development of it. Was it a show he directed for?
I don't know.
Say it again.
Am I making that up?
I don't know.
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
Jennifer Garner's father, James Garner?
I don't think so.
No?
I could be wrong, though. I feel like it'd be more well-known if it was.
Right.
Well, you don't know. She's her own woman. She was Elektra.
Jennifer Garner is not his daughter. There's a Kim Garner. There's a Greta Garner. There's not a Jennifer Garner.
Okay.
There's this awesome cameo in Maverick that features Danny Glover, who's trying to rob some people, and he just makes eye contact with Mel Gibson's character, and they just kind of give each other knowing looks like, hey, we've met before and done some before. It's an awesome cameo.
Okay.
That's like cool. Ryan Reynolds and Taika Waititi.
Yes.
Yeah. We haven't talked about that, but I think we should.
Free Guy?
That
reaction.
That skit they did in character? Yeah.
Yeah. That's something. I mean, that's mentionable.
To be fair, they I didn't look at news this week. I do know that came out. I just didn't watch it because I wasn't paying attention. I do know that they've made reference jokes before. The very first thing they ever released for Free Guy was a promo ad with the actors, and they made a bunch of Green Lantern jokes in it because they're both in Green Lantern.
From the guys that brought you Green Lantern and Deadpool too.
So there is that. What else has he done?
I just liked hearing Ryan Reynolds' like new Deadpool stuff. Like it was nice knowing that that's still a thing. You know what I mean? Like that's still a thing moving forward. That Disney is backing, and that like we're still going to be getting Ryan Reynolds stuff. And I know they've said it, but it's just nice getting like on-screen validation, like for those movies because. Yeah. They're not even if it's going to be in the MCU. They're not getting rid of Ryan Reynolds. Like that's something they're moving forward with.
True.
So yeah,
I feel like it's worth bringing up just because it was funny. I've seen all three of these films, but I did not know until researching for this bit that he produced the Free Willy films. Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't know that was a thing till he did it. And apparently, is that the Michael Jackson song?
No, we can't do that anymore. I'm sorry.
Will you be?
No, we can't do that. We can't do that. No, because we X'd out the other guy. We have to X out that too.
To be fair, that was more of a potshot joke than anything. I allowed Mel Gibson's picture.
Every time I hear that, I think of his funeral. You know what I mean? Like remember Michael Jackson's funeral? Just put anything.
I did not know.
Michael Jackson's funeral was a momentous occasion. Like if you were able to be near a TV that day, like, it was incredible. Whether he deserved
it, I had more to add. I've not seen Michael Jackson.
Just watching Usher collapse on the casket, it was something like profound.
Like, out of emotion, or he tripped and fell.
Out of emotion. Out of emotion. No, he was sitting too soon, and then he was just like.
Okay,
and then like Michael's family had to like hold him back, like he was just collapsed on it.
So the other thing I want to talk about before, I'm sorry, I wish I had more to add. I've
Remember
never
when he caught the Scranton Strangler.
Jesus Christ. To Richard Donner, Lethal Weapon is the other thing that's worth bringing up, right? It's his other big franchise contribution. I know both Glover and Gibson had roles before it, but I feel like they were really propelled into the starlight after doing those films. And my thing is, I'm curious to see if they will go ahead with a fifth one. Because we've seen recently that if people are open to it, and I'm sure it now falls back to his wife, especially because his wife is a producer, I'm sure she gets some say in it. Like Indiana Jones is an example where Spielberg directed all 4 entries of that franchise, 3 if you neglect the existence of the last one, but he directed all entries of that franchise. And
stop at it. There are people that think 4 is better than 2.
There's only 3 movies, though. I mean, unless they've seen the 4th movie already, that doesn't come out for a little bit, so I don't know why they're still filming it.
Don't hate me. I like.
I'm just going to read my script again.
It's crazy that Jet Li was not on the cover poster for Lethal Weapon 4.
I just think that I enjoy watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull more than I like watching Temple of Doom.
I mean, I heard of the fan film Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I mean that has nothing to do with Indiana Jones.
It's not as bad as you remember.
To answer your question, Sean, there there were 2 posters for Lethal Weapon 4. The one that I happen to pull doesn't have him on it. There's another one that's a cast poster that does.
Put an X over Aaron's video screen. He's racist.
Yeah.
You
guys hear what I'm saying, though? Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not as bad.
I'm a white man who lives in
never
Florida.
heard of
They
it.
will believe you. Don't do that to me.
I've never heard of that, Nikki.
Don't do that to me. Yeah, I don't know. I think if they do go ahead with it, it could be interesting. I know a lot of people have issue with 4, but I honestly think all of them are rather interesting. That's not me saying we need to bring Chris Rock back, but I think they could go ahead with a 5th one and do Look, he worked for the role. We need somebody who's annoying enough that Glover could hate him. Yeah, Chris Rock can do it.
What if Chris Rock produced it?
What if it was a Chris Rock Lethal Weapon spin-off where he's a detective trying to solve a murder mystery?
I'd let him direct it if he could do it as well as Top 5, but
I like Rock.
Cool.
Rock is a multi-talented gentleman, you know?
Can we just say that Saw is a spinoff and add Sam Jackson to the Lethal?
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. That was one of those that came out only in theaters, and I haven't seen it yet.
Did it not go to VOD fast? I feel like that's a movie that was.
Now I've just forgotten about it.
Oh,
so
did I.
I want to see it though, because like that's intriguing. Like a Chris Rock starred and produced Saw movie. Yeah, like why not?
I totally watched a
on,
Joe Pesci
Blu-ray.
Joe Pesci Chris Rock film.
Like if Jack Black were to direct a.
Can I just? I'll pull the image back up. The craziest thing about this was when I was looking at the posters, especially knowing what Joe Pesci looks like now. It is incredible to think he used to look that young. He has aged. I don't even want to say poorly because he's like 80 now, but he's aged so much. It's incredible.
Did you think was he like
60 years old in Lethal Weapon 4? Like,
yeah, no, he's been old for years, but it's like
for years.
He looked really good for a long time, and then it just
Joe Pesci looks like my grandpa that died like 10 years ago. Okay, that's how he looks. And guess what? You can buy Spiral on Tuesday if you want to buy it on Blu-ray. Comes out this Tuesday.
So, John Henry Iron Steel. You mentioned that a second ago.
Wait, what?
Wait, no one mentioned that.
Aaron, you did. You said Steel in Batman and Robin.
Oh, the Shack.
Oh, the shitty film. I did bring that up. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, I just wanted to say they're actually doing a pretty good version of that on a certain CW Superman show.
Is Steel
only one
Superman?
Yeah.
Well, there can't unless it's on Supergirl. As they're getting ready to can it, it's one or the other.
Superman and Lois. It's pretty good.
I've heard the show is good, but
no, it's really good. It's Supergirl.
It's better than Loki
because they had to.
Nothing's better than Loki. Besides
it's the final season, and they've also, guys. I'm trying to inform you. It's the final season of Supergirl.
I was being interrupted
They've also
a lot.
had to shoot around the actress pregnancy and COVID. So I think what they had to do was shoot the end of the season first, and then for the beginning of the season, Supergirl's just been like stuck in the Phantom Zone, which is kind of convenient because she hasn't been on Superman and Lois at all. And it's like, okay, well, why isn't Supergirl at this person's funeral that she knew? She's stuck in the Phantom Zone again. Just
wasn't she also pregnant while filming?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
They've had to shoot around her pregnancy. Yeah. So what they have to do in that situation is they have to shoot the back half of the season first. Like they have to
need her to be active
for the back half of the season first. So like the first half of the season, you've gotten all these episodes with like Team Supergirl, like Martian Manhunter, Supergirl's sister, Jimmy Olsen's sister, everybody's sister. Everybody has a freaking sister these days.
Are they all lesbian
sisters? That's why Iron
Steel
wasn't in Supergirl.
Supergirl's sister is a lesbian. Jimmy Olsen's sister is a lesbian. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. You got that. You got that right on the mark.
They're all lesbian sisters. And on that note,
what's the show? Is it Supergirl?
Ladies and gentlemen?
He's bisexual. Hey, everybody in the DC universe is gay or bi. Everybody.
That's fair. They got half of them from Glee, so that would make sense.
Half of them from Glee, and then The woman, another one of the women from Glee, she voiced Catwoman in that recent Batman animated thing, but she died. Like she died.
Yeah.
He did die.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Tragic. Like she
That
died
was
like
a year ago now.
from drowning. Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah. That
so
was sad.
talented. And then like there was another one that like went to jail and died, and then there was another one that like drug overdose. Like everybody on that show that didn't die became a superhero and died. Like what's Leah Michelle doing
I don't
these
think
days?
the guy who went to prison died. He just went to prison.
And he died. He died too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And then
I mean,
two
he got
of
arrested
them
for child
on,
porn, so that makes sense. They probably killed him, but
two of them were on Josh Hughes' channel like a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh good, they're alive. Thank God.
All right. So on that happy note, let's go ahead and end the show, guys. This has been a fun one. I hope you guys, if you stuck around, I hope you guys enjoyed the Loki discussion, the Black Widow discussion, the attempt at a Richard Donner tribute. Rest in peace, Richard Donner. You've made some incredible films. You have impacted and I was talking about Lethal Weapon. I would say Lethal Weapon had just as big an impact on the buddy cop genre as we know it as Superman and X-Men had on superhero films. So you have impacted multiple genres of film. You made many films over many generations that people loved, even up till your final film, because I think it got mixed reviews. But I know a number of people who love. Unfortunately, I forget the name of it. Let me go back one page on Wikipedia. 16 Blocks.
Forever.
Like your last film, people enjoyed, and I guess Superman 2: The Donner Cut came out around the same time. So there's also that. But again, an incredible career. Rest in peace to the man. 91 is an incredible age to get to.
What a lie.
I'll never get there, but
no, I might get like if I am 40.
I got 10 years maybe.
Yeah.
This is sad. Sean, where can people find you up in happier Canada with good education and not impending
healthcare? Up in the land of healthcare and snow. Things are now opening up, so hopefully you can find me on a stage soon, because I do a lot of sketch comedy and improv.
Thank you when you say sketch comedy, you mean like sketch comedy or like sketch comedy? That guy's a sketch. And I want to thank you for Ryan Reynolds and Sandra.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
That's one of the things I realized, that at the Blue Jays games in Florida, to make it more Canadian, they had cardboard cutouts in the front row of Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Oh. I'm like, oh wait, why do they have them there? And they're
Canadian?
No, they're both from Canada. That's why.
So Seth Rogen is also Canadian.
Seth Rogen,
Jim Carrey.
Man, Seth Rogen. How the hell do you get to be, out of all the types of white you could be, you're Canadian and Jewish. That's like a great mix for success.
I'm not thanking you for Seth Rogen. You can keep him.
I like Sausage Party. Sean, where can the good people find you?
Oh my God.
You can find me on this channel from now and again doing the After Dark show, which has been super fun. I love discussing all this Marvel and movie stuff with you guys. It's a blast.
You had fun. Nice. He likes this, guys.
The only thing that ruined the night was the hiccups. That was the only thing.
Oh my God, it was so annoying.
Nikki, where can the good people find you when you're not hiccuping?
I'm so glad they're gone. Like, that was literally like painful. Warm milk, nutmeg. It was good. I apologize for my hiccups. I really should have probably just stopped and tried to get rid of them, but like, they weren't going away, guys. Like, I held my breath until my ears were popping, and they weren't gone. Like, it was shocking. I don't know. You got to take like that hiccup video and send it to like a medical journal to like put on their website. But yeah, I loved Black Widow. I didn't love Loki. I love the show tonight. I love Richard Donner. And I love you guys.
Oh, thank you. Matt, where can the good people find you?
Not you, Aaron.
Oh, fair enough.
That's nice.
I understand. I tried to bring structure.
All of you. Everybody here, especially you, Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Woo!
So you can find me, of course, on here on After Dark every Saturday, which, if you guys didn't know, today's Saturday. You can also find me and Alan doing the political show we do, Cancel the Show, live on Tuesdays, so that's a lot of fun.
Now. Oh wow!
It's live. It's absolutely live, and it's a lot of fun. So we could get canceled
Maybe
actually live on the show, but that's not the case. You can also find me on Inside the Horseshoe podcast
What
channel.
time on Tuesday for you to cancel the show?
Hey, yeah, if you want to come on, you're always welcome.
What time?
9 o'clock.
In the morning?
No, night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
dark time.
9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we don't do morning shows. We don't do morning shows, guys. At night. It's at night. But you can find me on Inside the Horseshoe. I upload Colts content daily, for the most part. Not as daily recently, but we still upload on there from time to time. And then also we'll be doing a new channel live stream, or not live stream, new channel where we react to movies, TV shows, and other stuff too. It's gonna be called Matt Reacts. It's me, it's my face, and you'll see me watching some movies and stuff. I probably shouldn't click the NBA Finals, but that's what the channel is like.
Face.
It's just me watching stuff. You'll see handpicked moments for the movies and TV shows, and then there's gonna be other reactions too. So like just regular videos that won't even all be movies and whatnot. So that's where you can find me.
It would just be hilarious if somebody just like took all of those in a year and just overlaid them on each other, and like every 5 seconds a new one would start.
Right.
All right. And if you guys enjoyed the show and you made it this far, congratulations, you win nothing. Please be sure to rate the show, comment, interact, subscribe to the channel for more. As Matt referenced to, we have stuff going up all the time.
Yeah.
Every Saturday night, we have After Dark at 9 p.m. EST. Every Sunday at noon EST, we have the Supernova Show, which if you are into all the geekiest stuff, check that out. As I said, on After Dark, we are doing intermittent reviews of some of the major shows. They're talking about it every week, so they'll get into the Loki finale. They're also talking about Bad Batch every week, so if that's where your interest is, check that out. Every Tuesday, as he said, 9 p.m. EST, cancel this show with Matt Beer and Alan Shepard is on. They go live now. So like he said, it's not pre-recorded cancellation. They could actually get taken down off the internet. It's more fun that way.
Live.
So check that out if that's your interest. And I'll go ahead and announce it now. So if somehow you made it this far in the video, congratulations. This is what you win. As we've teased for the last couple of months, Movie Battleground is coming back.
Yes.
It's coming back to the channel. We've already begun recording. We've been doing it for the last couple of weeks to get some matches. Who's playing a Disney musical in the background? What is happening?
You just noticed that? It's
I was trying to ignore it, but it got louder.
It's one of my friends that I recently made. His name is Daniel Larson. He's going to be running for president actually in 2028. It's his song Roaring Thunder.
Well, best of luck to him. If Trump can win, anyone can win at this point.
True.
So,
I love Movie Battleground, and I can't wait to be on it again.
Yeah, we'd love to, I will have you absolutely. Once we're done with all this tournament,
you guys are doing it again.
Yeah, once we're done with all this tournament stuff, the roster will open up. So absolutely, I'll get you in there. But yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, either way.
Wow, I've been looking at a rock. I'm like just
to be fair, I don't always bring it up on air, but to announce when it is coming back. So the show will begin airing. The show will begin airing here on TMG Entertainment in August. It'll air every single Thursday, and then intermittently, kind of every other week on Wednesday, you will have a second match going up. Specific time is to be determined. That'll be announced later, but generally it'll be in a nighttime time zone. We're just going to find the best time to kind of drop it for all across the border U.S. time zones. We'll come up with whatever's best. But with that said, as kind of a special return thing, we are doing 1 week of Movie Battleground matches. So on the first week of August, on Monday the 2nd, Tuesday the 3rd, Wednesday the 4th, and Thursday the 5th. Every single night we will have a Battleground match going up to kind of celebrate the return. In those matches, we have 2 of our 3 former champions returning, playing a match. We also have some fun returning guests. We have some fun rookies one of which, who is in one of those matches, is Mr. Sean Hunter. He will be in one of those first debut matches. For those of you who are interested in the specific matchups, that video will be coming next week. It'll go up on the channel in the time zone, the time slot that Battleground will air in next Thursday. And the tournament seed drawing will air the week after, before we begin airing the episodes. It's been a fun time already just in the short time we've been recording. People seem to generally be enjoying it when they're not desperately needing heart medication, which is always fun. And I hope you guys enjoy it when it finally comes to light. So with that said, my name is Aaron Knoll. On behalf of everyone here at TMG Entertainment, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next time. Take care.